So this is new information about the money and how the money was spent. This is a better breakdown of the money. This is a thread here, so it is time to talk about Keffals' GoFundMe situation. Below, I will prove that Keffals misled donors and spent 100K dishonestly. And two, her quote, legal case with the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario is dead, and Keffals has been lying about the status of it to avoid questions related to the money. So we've seen this screenshot already where she says if anyone ever finds out about how I spent the GoFundMe money, I am definitely getting canceled. So we have here, I've been investigating the Keffals GoFundMe for a long time, and now a few pieces of evidence are public knowledge. I can share what I found. TLDR, the above screenshot, the real legal case in the GoFundMe supposedly going towards is likely isn't happening. Strap in, this is a doozy. First, what exactly did she say she would spend the GoFundMe money on? So these are the original screenshots. So she says, I need your help suing. I need your help. I started a GoFundMe after being victimized by the London Police Services for being a victim of a hate crime. I need to move immediately, recoup my losses, and build a legal fund to protect my rights. So down here it says, if the goal is met, I will have raised enough money to recoup my losses, move immediately to a safe location. If the goal is exceeded, the funds will be allocated to a legal fund to protect myself against ongoing and future threats to my safety. So this is when the goal was $20,000. So we update, the original moving goal was met, but the hotel I was staying at while looking for a new place to live was doxxed. I am now in hiding. I am keeping the GoFundMe up, but all donations are going directly towards my legal fund in which I will be seeking justice. Okay. On Twitter, Keffals has been less clear about how the money was allocated, but here is one figure I want to call attention to. This is shortly after the GoFundMe launch, and she gives a lower estimate of $60K for the trial, and the GoFundMe is going towards legal fees. So this is an archive screenshot. Keffals says, woke up, I am seeing tenderqueers mad at me for saying mean words and growing up, blah, blah, blah. A 3-day civil trial in Canada is $60,000. The vast majority of the money I've raised is going to paying lawyers. The rest is to move and pay me and my staff because I can't work until I'm safe. Making a trauma victim explain this a week after it happened is fucked up. Again, a friendly reminder that filing with the Human Rights Tribunal is free of charge, okay? So she also reiterates that non-legal portion of the funds is going towards moving, recouping her losses, but my investigation found that she had no concrete losses to recoup. Keffals was swatted on August 5th. She later said that her devices were returned 3 days later. So we saw this clip on H3H3 that they took her stuff and they gave it back within 3 days. This is corroborated by the bag shown on a CBC story about Keffals swatting, and the label of which clearly shows that Keffals' desktop tower was returned to her on August 8th, which was before Keffals launched her GoFundMe on August 9th. So launched the GoFundMe on the 9th, got all of her shit back on the 8th, was arrested, and all of her shit was taken away on the 5th. So within 3 days, she got all of her stuff back, all of her, streaming equipment and all that other stuff. And then the day after she got everything back, she started her GoFundMe. Additionally, a former editor of Keffals shared with me a copy of Keffals' financials from May 2022 to July 2023, and we can clearly see that in August 2022, Keffals earned over $13,000, which is actually higher than the surrounding months. So we have here in May, she made $8,000. In June, she made $11,000. In July, she made $11,000. In August, she made $13,000. So in the month where she needed to, quote unquote, recoup her losses, this is actually the most money that she made in this, about 15-month span. This is the most money that she made was in August. So we know that that is not true. To reiterate, Keffals did not have any losses to recoup. She wouldn't see a decline in revenue until 03/23 after she went to rehab. Keffals also very likely didn't use the $20K to relocate to Ireland and instead paid a least significant portion out of pocket. At least a significant portion out of pocket, excuse me. By 9/4/2022, Keffals was established enough in Ireland for publications to write about it. The next day, she would have an infamous combo with Winterwear. When asked if she had used any of the GoFundMe money funds for a PI, strongly implied that she hadn't spent any of it yet. So, Winter, I don't know how much money you think I make, but I was going to make 6 figures this year before the GoFundMe happened. Winter said that wasn't the question. Quit flexing on minorities, whitey. Keffals says, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry you brought up money for some reason. Winter said, did you pay the PI out of the GoFundMe money? Keffals says, no, the GoFundMe is currently in savings until I need to use it. Continuing on, in this exchange, you can see how she could afford You can also see how she could afford this. She was on track to make 6 figures in 2022, which corroborated by her financials from earlier. This also adds context to the point that she never mentioned. She's fucking rich, or at least was at the time. This adds gravity to the situation that trans people are forced to beg for money and scraps online, so an already wealthy woman using a GoFundMe for an important cause instead of just using it to double her income isn't just evil, it's an insult to every trans person that is struggling to survive. Just before I get away from myself here is a link to the original exchange with Winter, which shows that it occurred on September 5th. I hate the Twitter chat character count. Anyway, while it seems that Keffals didn't need the GoFundMe money to get to Ireland, she would settle down until October. This brings us to the screenshot taken by a former editor for Keffals on 11/30/2022, where Keffals says all of the GoFundMe money had either been spent or earmarked. So we read this one earlier, where she says, that she was buying stuff for friends, buying new clothes, new streaming gear, etc., etc. Keffals, in just 4 months, potentially 2 months, if it hadn't been touched by September, blew through $100,000 on traveling, not moving, furniture, friends, new stream gear that she did not need since she got her devices back after 3 days, and clothes. The rest was for a year of rent and therapy, neither of which was outlined by the GoFundMe. I can't even tell you how much she spent on rent. She would later tweet that on her private, that her rent during this time was $2,400 a month, which is $28.8K that she had allocated. So we see here has gone from $2,400 a month to $400, so I'm building some savings. And for clarity, yes, she says her rent in Ireland is $400 a month, but she would not move to Ireland until June of 2023 when her visa was approved. Before that, she was living in Canada, which is where she allocated a year of rent at $24K or $2.4K a month. So my visa just got approved. I'm moving to Ireland, so this was in June. Thought you were coming to Belfast. You're going to be in Northern Ireland. Remember, she said and reiterated that most of the GoFundMe would go towards a legal case, that a civil case, which still has not happened, would cost a minimum of $60K for 3 days. And yet, by the end of 2022, the money, she said, for the legal fund was gone or allocated otherwise. This means that none of the $100K went to any of what she said it did, which brings me to the second point. Her legal case with the Human Rights Tribunal Ontario, that isn't going anywhere. Buckle up, fuckers, because we're only halfway done. As I've followed the progression of Keffals' legal case, her public and private plans constantly shift and often don't align. As a result, nailing down a robust timeline of what she said publicly and privately regarding to her legal case proved convoluted and unhelpful. So I will give her the benefit of the doubt and assume that her most recent plans, a complaint filed with the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario on April 10th, 2023, are consistent with her initial GoFundMe for a legal case. Okay. So this is her stream. I'm taking legal action. Her video wasn't uploaded until May, but various press outlets announced it around April 21st using a press kit Keffals put together. Almost all of them included a clause like this saying that there was no information as to when the claim would be heard. So no information available concerning when the claim will be heard. A London police spokesperson declined to comment on this complaint. Thankfully, the process of filing a claim is publicly available. The HRTO receives an application. The applicant receives a letter either informing the app needs work or is good and has been sent to the other party, i.e. the London police. So this is from their website. It says after you file, once your application has been received, you'll receive a letter that includes your file number. They'll review your application and determine if the next steps. If it's incomplete or more information is required, we'll let you know. If the application is complete, it will be sent to the respondents named in the application and others who may be affected by the application. Next, the respondents must submit a form, blah, 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 with all parties. An adjudicator will complete the jurisdictional review followed by an outline for the next steps and parties. After some back and forth, the parties convene before the HRTO to mediate and try to reach a settlement. Failure to do that will then lead to a hearing. You might think that this process has an open-ended time frame, so it'd be expected that you haven't heard anything, but that's wrong. So the goal of mediation is to help the parties reach an agreement or a settlement that resolves the issue. Blah, blah, blah. So we just read about that a little bit. Unfortunately for Keffals, the HRTO sets a deadline of 1 year after the initial filing for a hearing should one occur. Keffals' application was filed on April 10th, 2023. The deadline for a hearing was a month ago. There have been no evidence of a hearing. We haven't heard anything about the mediation. We haven't gotten confirmation that her application was accepted. We haven't heard about the letter she was supposed to receive right away, and all of these things are long past due. I will now catalog everything we have heard. So the next we would hear about the HRTO case was in October of 2023 when the London police concluded their investigation about the sexual assault allegation Keffals made about her application. And notably, the London police were made aware of the allegation through the media, not the HRTO. So London police learned about the sexual assault allegation from the media report on April 23rd. The investigation itself is irrelevant. Personally, I'm always skeptical of internal police doing investigations anyway. What's relevant is when reporting on the investigation's end, the London Free Press reached out to Keffals' lawyer for comment and got this. Lawyer Justin Anisman, who is representing Cherne in the human rights case, declined to comment on the internal London Police SIU investigations. Quote, "We are unable to comment, or rather say that we will continue to be seeking justice for the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal," said in a statement. When given the perfect opportunity to update the public on the proceedings of the case, her lawyer gave us no indication that the case had progressed at all. Not even so much as a confirmation that the application was accepted, despite the fact that it definitely should have been by now. The next time that she talked about this would be February 5th, 2024, where she said this. While this may seem like the case had progressed, take notes of two things here. One, she claims the proceedings could take a minimum of 2 years. However, we know this isn't true. Two, she is being vague. So, Keffals says, papers have been processed and we are awaiting dates to appear in the tribunal. I'm told this could take a minimum of 2 years at best and 6 years at the worst, depending on if this gets escalated to a higher judicial body. So, we know earlier that they said that the deadline is a year. This is a lie. She hasn't said the HRTO accepted her application, for example, merely that, quote, papers have been processed. Even more suspicious is she deleted the tweet within 7 minutes of posting this. Please excuse my chicken scratch. So 7-minute difference, 52, 45. The reply from 7 minutes later shows the tweet was deleted already. So we have evidence here that she deleted the tweet rather quickly. My best guess, someone told her it was a bad idea to publicly lie about this, which brings us to the third time she talked about it. Oh wait, that's the last time she ever said of it. At least that I managed to catch. Remember, the deadline for the hearing was a month ago. Also remember, by now, she has already long since spent the money allocated for this legal case in her financials, and frequent absences from streaming since going to rehab make it extremely unlikely that she could afford to pay a case out of pocket anymore. Altogether, the evidence very strongly indicates that her case with the HRTO died a long time ago, and yet she has continued stringing everyone along, probably in hopes of staving off, quote, getting canceled, as she was clearly aware she was at risk of. This is unacceptable. To reiterate, Keffals lied about spending $20,000 on moving and recouping costs. Keffals lied about putting the remaining $80,000 into a legal fund, and Keffals is lying about the status of the case to this very day to keep people from asking questions about what she did with the money. So, what can we do? First, since Keffals is clearly uninterested in transparency, we must take actions ourselves. Here's the link to her GoFundMe. Everyone who reads this should submit a report to GoFundMe for fraud. Next, if you unfortunately are one of the people defrauded by Keffals, you should submit a donor claim here. Lastly, you can retweet this thread to raise awareness and hopefully demand financial transparency from Keffals. To conclude, I would like to address Keffals herself. Clara, people trusted you. For years, people said you were fighting for young trans people and the freedom for your people. And all of it while you were lying to their faces for money that benefited only you. Do the right thing. So this is just evidence that was not included like within like Mutahar's video that I think is important to demonstrate here, is that like while there are like the fun, silly like conspiracy memes, you know, that she spent all of this money on like meth and coke and was like going on a crazy fucking bender and all this other stuff. In reality, it's a lot more boring. She lied about essentially having this kind of case. One, the case is free. Second of all, she lied about the length of the case. Third of all, she lied about even having the money in the first place, because by the time it rolled around, she had already spent all the money. She didn't have any losses to recoup because she made more money in August than she made out of any other month. And she blew through that money for no good reason, under the guise of basically saying, you know, I'm going to sue this, I'm going to sue that, I'm going to make sure that my rights are protected, blah, 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 blah. But it was just spent on fancy streaming gear and clothes and helping a friend out and traveling around the world. So that's something that wasn't included in the Mutahar video that I think is important to touch on, because like while it is fun to kind of do like our little memes and our little conspiracies that she just spent it all on blow and stuff like that, the reality is just like that she was really irresponsible with her money. She used it for really selfish reasons. When people, out of the kindness of their heart, donated her to make sure that she was safe, and, you know, they believed in the cause that she was advocating for, which was, you know, securing trans rights and all this other stuff. But instead, she decided to squander that on material things that are somewhat irrelevant and not important. So one of the criticisms of Mutahar and this video, basically, was that people are saying that Keffals was depicted in a transphobic way. So here we have the image of the thumbnail. This is, I'll make this bigger, actually. This is like the sweaty kind of caricature that has come out of the commentary community. For reference, the guy who makes these images, he's made them of everybody in the commentary community. So, you know, this one's Vosh, This one is Nicholas de Oreo. This one is Turkey Tom. This one's Tipster. This one's Augie RFC. Sneeko, Hassan, Keemstar. I think this one is Mutahar. There's 2 tipsters in here because you got to get both of them. This is like this guy's art style. Just a worm. This is the guy. His tweets are protected right now. He's gone on private because people have been like blowing his shit up over this. But this is his art style. Is just making people look like sweaty, like generally unattractive, right? That's kind of the thing. And I will draw attention that there is a cis woman here, right here, who is depicted in kind of a similar way, where they're just like kind of sweaty and like yucky looking. It's just like a style of art. So Keffals says, I understand that people have criticisms of me. I don't think that I'm above being critiqued. That said, was it really necessary to use a transphobic caricature of me in the thumbnail of the video while also not using my pronouns in the announcement? So here we have the caricature, and Mutahar says, uploaded a video regarding a serious fraud of an activist known as Keffals. Over an hour of deconstructing her various lies and examining her terrible lies will prove to you why she is a danger to people they represent and those surrounding them. And then in the video, he only addresses her as she and her. So don't care, personally. And then again, this is just kind of an art style, right? This is just an art style that this guy uses. I would agree that this is a quote-unquote transphobic caricature if she had like, you know, if she had like a 5 o'clock shadow or like an Adam's apple or like a super mega receding hairline. Like, I don't know about you guys. I have seen transphobic caricatures. This is not a transphobic caricature. She just looks sweaty and gross. And again, that's this art style, is like sweaty and gross, okay? You even have a cis woman here whose eyes are like all fucked up. She looks sweaty and like, you know, unhinged and unkempt and all this other good stuff, right? But anyway, outside of that, here's Keffals using the Vosh sweaty for her thumbnail. Is this a transphobic caricature of Vosh? So my thoughts generally are that I don't give a fuck. I personally don't. If this was, you know, a real transphobic caricature and Keffals was drawn to have, you know, like a 5 o'clock shadow and like a big honkin' Adam's apple and looked like a man, I'd be like, okay, guys, time to pump the brakes. Like, but I don't care. This is just kind of like an art style. And I think that it's like cowardly to hide behind this as transphobic or whatever, because I don't think it's transphobic at all. However, I will say on Mutahar's end, I would say optically, I feel like this was a mistake. And the only reason that I would say that is because now you have everybody being like, oh my god, like Mutahar is transphobic and everything that he got in there was on Kiwi Farms. He's a Kiwi Farmser, like he doesn't know anything. He's just transphobic and he hates trans people, blah 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 blah. Like, but yeah, I feel like optically we probably could have done like a better thumbnail, just because if we know anything about Keffals, and unfortunately we have all been forced to experience all of her glory in real time, is that she'll take anything to use it to dodge accountability and to hide and to not, you know, respond to criticism and what have you. So this was like a really easy layup for her to be like, look, you don't listen to anything in this guy's video. He's a fucking transphobe, which I don't think that Mutahar is transphobic. And I don't think that the image is transphobic at all. But, you know, coulda, shoulda, woulda, hindsight's 2020. I don't know, dude. It's fucking dumb. Without further ado, let's just begin, you guys. Let's just begin.
If anyone ever finds out about how I spent the GoFundMe, I am definitely getting canceled. Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and today's video is one that required quite a fair bit of research, and it's one that I should have released a few weeks ago. It's a video that might be one of my most controversial videos, but one that required looking back years upon years of internet history to come to an actual conclusion of one of the most dangerous people on the web, an international transgender activist that some of you all may know as Keffals. Now, Keffals is not necessarily a popular activist. They're an online transgender activist known for fighting against the controversial website Kiwi Farms. Her campaign saw mainstream attention after a highly publicized swatting, where she alleged mistreatment by the Canadian Police Services. The online harassment escalated until she was forced to flee her home country to escape. With the media and an entire community backing her, she raised over $100,000 on GoFundMe to recoup her losses and pursue legal action against law enforcement. This is a story the public heard all the way up in 2022. Turns out her entire career and almost everything she said is a lie. Join me as I take you down a journey that involves SWAT teams, misgendering, do-it-yourself hormones, cat boys, and a scam many have tried to expose, yet for some reason almost no one is talking about. Before we get into the real meat and potatoes, I should probably explain a bit more about who Keffals is. Her name is Clara Sorrenti, first rose to prominence in a community of another left-wing political streamer named Bosch. garnering a following by posting memes on Twitter. With this notoriety, she began streaming video games on Twitch in March of 2020. Her focus shifted to politics later that year after a wave of anti-trans legislation swept through the United States. She went on to raise $200,000 for a campaign for Southern equality to protect trans youth. By the end of the year, her Twitter surpassed 10,000 followers, and while most were on board with the activist, others grew very critical of how she used her platform. Clara regularly directed her chat to brigade targets by ratioing them. Ratioing, for anybody who's not terminally online, is when you try to get more likes than the original post in a quote tweet or a reply. This amounted to coordinating with her chat on stream, and even if you blocked her, she would just use alternate accounts to achieve this goal. It was through this that she got into her first real internet beef in early 2022. On March 22nd, 2022, Clara had a spat with online notorious agitator Ian Miles Chong. Their back and forth continued for hours as she commanded her viewers to ratio him. Then at around 4:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, her chat was brigaded with hateful messages. Despite the timing, one of her mods would end up blaming someone else, another streamer named Destiny. Destiny is a kind of progenitor of the entire online leftist streaming space. His stream is where both Vosh and Hassan Piker got their start. These people used to be friends, and nowadays, not so much. And that is reflected in their communities. The only evidence implicating Destiny was a quote tweet where he called her cringe. Ooh, the shock! It was posted 2 hours after the rape. Despite this, Clara and her community insisted it was his fault. Once again, there was no evidence he had any involvement, yet she used it as justification to deplatform him. Her first response was to try to get his Twitter mass reported and banned. She set her sights on his Twitch channel, launching what can only be described as a full-fledged character assassination. There are countless examples of her legitimate slander and flat-out lies about Destiny. He detailed the worst of her behavior in an extensive document he published back in 2022. And I'm only going to touch on a few examples because this video is going to be as long as it is. The first thing to point out is she was successful in depriving him of one of his main sources of income. She painted Destiny as transphobic for not supporting trans women competing in sports with cis women. Even if you disagree with this, that doesn't necessarily make Destiny transphobic. It's a fringe pressure point of a much larger, broader issue. It's a highly specific, contentious issue and an unfair characterization of his broader catalog. Regardless, her labeling garnered enough support to get Destiny banned off of Twitch within 24 hours for hate speech. She immediately took credit, gloating about taking away his primary...
Okay, to be fair, I still don't think that we know exactly why he got banned in the first place. I don't think that it's ever been confirmed that's why. Like, she took credit for it in the same way, you know, that, like, ISIS takes credit for fucking everything. But did ISIS really do it? Who knows? I don't know if it's been confirmed that it was specifically her that got him banned, but... I mean, if she wants to wear the crown, I mean, I guess we can give it to her, I suppose.
Her source of income. Hey, Steve, I just took away your primary source of income. Please leave me alone and stop bullying trans people for content. He picked a fight with me. He got banned. I won. This behavior was not only encouraged, but rewarded with 30,000 new followers that week. An important thing to remember is that if you're banned off Twitch, you cannot appear on the site at all. For the longest time, you couldn't even show his face on screen without getting in trouble. Now that he couldn't defend himself, she spread even more blatant falsehoods. The same day, she baselessly accused Destiny of stealthing, which is secretly removing a condom during sex without the partner's consent. This is generally considered a form of you-know-what, which Clara brings up in her accusation.
Oh yeah, meanwhile he stealths people, which is legitimately a form of...
This was so crazy, dude. This was crazy.
Insane. Insane shit.
To this day, there has never been any evidence or even an allegation made towards Destiny about this. She walked it back shortly after, which shows just how callous she is towards claims of such a serious nature. But because he was deplatformed, she was able to further a false narrative to her chat as well as tens of thousands of people on Twitter. They all either assumed she was being honest or didn't care she was slandering him because they had already disliked Destiny. In retrospect, her behavior paints a clear picture of how she would conduct herself in the future. It wasn't long into this drama that Keffals got noticed by the site Kiwi Farms, who started a thread about her on March 26, 2022. Clara quickly tried to guilt Destiny by association, claiming he used the forum and was even friends with the owner. And what was the reasoning? Well, because apparently he has an account is because he was a target on the site since 2017 with his own board. All his posts are arguing with trolls in his own thread. He was also never friends with Null, who is the owner of Kiwi Farms. He has also gone on record to wish him death several times. Null, by the way, wishing death on Destiny.
And this is while he's out, I guess, friend. It's just like, he's super gross. And sometimes he says things which are funny or agreeable, and it's like, I wish I could like you, bro, but you're creepy and gross and weird, and your brain's all f***ed up, and your shit's all... and you talk like a... So we can't be friends, and I kind of think the world would be better off with you.
Clara knew this, but intentionally spread a lie that they met 10 years ago on the game StarCraft. When confronted, she admitted, I know, I wanted him to respond to the accusation, it was bait. At this point, I should probably take some time to explain exactly what Kiwi Farms is. Kiwi Farms is an online website dedicated to discussing internet figures. Okay, you probably heard about internet lolcows, people like Chris Chan, Boogie2988, or Daniel Larson, who has his own legal problems of late. The website's composed of various threads where users effectively congregate to document and follow individuals with a negative lens, okay? Now, we have to acknowledge that Kiwi Farms does allow doxing, okay? On the site, it's permitted to post the personal information of anybody being discussed, including full names, phone numbers, home addresses, hell, even blood type if you can find it, and most other forms of personally identifiable information. It's also a site where anything goes, okay? It's like the Wild West of the internet. If you ever try to look up me on some of these threads, you'll probably find Indian and who in the Hulu and crazy stuff all day, every day. Kiwi Farms was made back in 2013 by Joshua Connor Moon, also online known as Null. The original purpose of the site was to document internet figure Chris Chan. After they covered Chris Chan initially, it started to change itself and rebrand into a general purpose online gossip wiki, so to speak, where they started to cover various individuals like Darkside Phil, Boogie, Wings of Redemption, who all actually have threads. And the site does have a propensity to make threads about transgender individuals. Anti-trans sentiment is banned on a lot of major platforms, and as a result, the site has become a place for those opinions to effectively congregate. Now again, I want to start off by saying I don't endorse or support that behavior. In fact, I outright condemn it, all right? There's no reason to have any form of hate on the internet. That being said, all right, whatever goes on the site does fall under free speech and is entirely legal, okay? It's somewhat of a misnomer online that apparently doxing somebody is against the law. It is against the law to hack someone's accounts and breach their privacy to obtain their personal information, but that behavior is not encouraged by the site, and of course that behavior is punishable by law. But technically, it is not against the law to post someone's address against their will. As shitty as that sounds, most controversial internet figures have threads on this site, where they not only document their personal information, but they collect any piece of content, tweets, and documents that they post online. So early on, Clara blamed the thread's creation on Destiny, saying he was the reason they found out about her. Later, she admitted it was her constant instigating that actually caught their attention.
How did the Kiwi Farm stuff even start? They noticed me because I started doing Twitter ratios. And they went from getting...
Man, way back in the day, I fucking blocked Keffals because of the ratioing thing. It was so annoying, bro. Like, anytime I would get on Twitter, it would be like, it would be a shame if I ratioed the prime minister of, like, Croatia. I was like, this is so boring and lame, guys. I fucking hate this. I don't want to see this on my feed anymore. It was very painful for me. Very painful for me. You guys, very painful.
Mad about Twitter ratios to digging up every single thing in the last 28 years of my life, looking for more reasons to be mad at me.
Again, hypocrisy and misstatements are going to be rife in this video. After Destiny got banned from Twitch, the owner of Kiwi Farms discussed their feud on their podcast. The episode was streamed live on March 25th. Clara reacted on Twitter calling him the final boss of transphobes and proclaiming she wouldn't back down. I have done nothing wrong, nor will I be going anywhere. Her thread was created the next day, racking up page after page scrutinizing her early life and online history. That included rumors of embezzling funds from her local Communist Party chapter for opiates, and a supposed Discord server.
I'm not... I think Muta showed this at the very beginning of the video, but, ooh, let me see if I have this. I should have it. Yeah, it's right here. Here's Keffals saying, I feel really bad watching the GoFundMe deplete. The rest will cover a year rent. My psych fees if I talk to a psychologist once a week for the next 11 months. Ellen tried to cover me, reminding me that it was an emergency fund. And then Arif says, Ellen is right, but I definitely understand that feeling. Whenever I have a windfall that I wasn't originally planning on having, I still felt bad when it was depleted. Keffals says, I keep trying to think of how it depleted so fast and just so many little things. Travel and replacing furniture, helping my friends, buying new streaming gear and clothes. If anyone ever finds out how I spent the GoFund money, I'm definitely getting canceled, LOL. Anyway, sorry for venting. I'm still going to head out. So, again, Mutahar does not go in depth with a lot of the financial stuff, which is a criticism, of course, of the video. And I don't know if Mutahar just didn't have access to this information. I know for a fact there are people that did have access to this information who did pass it on to Mutahar. So either he didn't read it or he chose not to include it in the video. But I am acutely aware of people who do have receipts on the expenditures related to the GoFundMe. And as I said earlier, for people who missed it, sometime this morning, probably within the next hour or so, perhaps, this link is going to go live with a breakdown of the misappropriation of funds that was not included in this video. So that will be hot, delicious tea once that link becomes available. It just isn't all the way done yet, I guess. So we will keep an eye on that. But that is another big criticism that I have of this video, is I think, for the most part, and again, I will reiterate, a lot of this has already been litigated and documented and talked about. Like, a big chunk of this video is just kind of rehashing, like, the lying about the context around being swatted, you know, the lying about this, the lying about that, you know, calling people pedophiles and this, that, and the other thing. However, what isn't really included is the financial thing. And I think that's what people are most curious about. Because, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I remember when all of this shit went down. So I remember acutely, like, all of this discourse happening in real time. So a lot of the stuff that we're going over right now isn't necessarily new information per se. But again, for somebody who's just kind of like dipping their toes into the Keffals pond, the context is relevant, of course. But there is a pretty substantial amount of stuff that we are already aware of if you know anything about Keffals that we're going to go over.
Server called the Catboy Ranch. It was posted alongside her and her family's personal information, which understandably made her very upset. Clara spoke out about this, which led many people who'd been similarly targeted to join her in solidarity. This began what eventually became #DropKiwiFarms. #DropKiwiFarms was a movement to get the site taken off the internet. They specifically went after service providers like Cloudflare, who provided DDoS protection and mitigation services. They argued Kiwi Farms was a stalking and harassment site that bullied people into taking their own lives. However, this largely picked up after her story received widespread mainstream coverage. For a while, her focus stayed on trying to bludgeon Destiny with their reputation. On July 18th, Keffals announced a tell-all about Destiny's association with the site. This backfired because her thumbnail used a picture of Destiny's face, violating Twitch's policy on banned streamers. Her channel got banned before she could even start, forcing her to stream on YouTube instead. The attention only incentivized Kiwi Farms to keep prodding, and a week later, she fell victim to an attempted swatting. The incident has made public on the 9th of August in a video titled, "My Life is in Danger, I Need Your Help." Clara explained that 4 days earlier, on August 5th, she woke up to police services pointing an assault rifle at her face.
On August 5th, I was woken up by London Police Services, pointing an assault rifle in my face.
A letter had been emailed to every city council member in London, Ontario, threatening a mass. Clara was arrested, booked, and held in custody for 11 hours. They searched her apartment and confiscated several devices. They allegedly misgendered her and even booked her under her dead name. If you're unaware, dead naming refers to using a prior name for a trans person, generally associated with the gender they were assigned.
So I don't remember if Muta goes into this at all, like in any detail, or if he just does like a surface level thing. I guess I don't have to pause it, but regardless, when Keffals was arrested and taken to the police station and what have you, and all of her shit was taken, there's two big misnomers. The first one is that she wasn't woken up with an assault rifle in her face. She walked out. She was woken up and came out into the hallway. So in later interviews or later like explanations that she gives, she was woken up, got dressed because she was sleeping without clothes on, like put on pajamas, and then went out into the hallway and was arrested. And that's, neither here nor there. I mean, whatever, embellishment, blah, blah, blah. Like, but the problem is that kind of sets you up to look like a liar, right? Where you weren't entirely truthful about this. So the next thing that you tell me, I'm going to be a little bit more like, when you tell me, I don't know if I'm really going to be like all like on your side with it, right? Like I'm going to want a little bit more information. So that's one thing. The second thing is that she was like the only instances of dead naming, quote unquote, that she brings up are in regards to her having a criminal record. So she had interactions with police before she transitioned. So there is a record of her under her name before she transitioned. And additionally, the dead name was actually just her previous last name. So to my understanding, when she medically transitioned and legally changed her name, she took her mom's last name instead of her dad's last name. So, when you're born, you get your dad's last name. And then I guess later, she legally changes her name to reflect her mom's last name. So the dead name in question was actually just a different legal last name, which I wouldn't consider to be a dead name. In the same way that Xander Hall cries that he was misgendered and dead named when people call him fucking Pig Puncher because that was his name before Xander Hall, which 1, gay, 2, doesn't count as dead naming, but that's neither here nor there. So I apologize for pausing. I'm sorry, guys.
At birth. This worsened an already traumatic experience she considered a hate crime. The video was posted alongside a GoFundMe with the stated intent of helping Clara recoup her losses, move immediately, and build a legal fund to protect her rights. It received widespread media attention, bringing in over $100,000 in donations. Even with their support, however, it seemed like there was no escape. Trolls kept figuring out her location as she was forced into hiding, and her battle against Kiwi Farms continued. Even after fleeing the continent, eventually she was successful in getting the site dropped by Cloudflare, who cited an...
I keep getting... Oh my god, every time I relitigate all the Keffals shit, I get so fucking irritated, bro. Because she was the one that was like posting, hey guys, going to the Walmart on 4th Avenue at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then she would be like, oh my god, people knew where I was. And it's like, yes, bitch, you literally just tweeted that's where you were going. I keep forgetting. Oh my god, I forgot how crazy this was.
Imminent threat to human life. Without their protection, Kiwi Farms became vulnerable to illegal denial of service attacks and was forced to shut down. Now this is the story that the public was led to believe. Concluding a successful campaign, Keffals reiterated over and over that the site had been shut down. It only became more difficult to insist as time had gone on, given it's obviously not true. Kiwi Farms is up to this day, and by all metrics, it has way more stability than ever before. And what many of her supporters don't realize is that this is truly the beginning of the web of lies that make up this entire ordeal. Almost everything you've heard about this whole situation is a lie, and that's why I'm going to explore in depth in these next 2 sections. These are 2 very important aspects to the story to address her portrayal of the swatting and how exactly the money was spent. When it comes to something as serious as swatting, it's important not to downplay its severity. This is a crime that's taken innocent people's lives. but curiously, her story began to change as time went on. The narrative set forth in her initial video is one of terror. Clara says on the 5th of August, she is awoken by police services pointing an assault rifle at her face. This specific detail is referenced in her video several times.
On August 5th, I was woken up by London police services pointing an assault rifle in my face at my home. When I was woken up by police officers and saw the assault rifle pointed at me, I thought I was going to die. I feel traumatized.
Her story then changed to an encounter in the hallway. The exact phrasing is that she went into the hallway and then saw...
Also, I don't know if Muta includes this screenshot or not. Do you guys remember when Keffals tweeted about Elijah McClain getting murdered by the police? And she was like, I remember when I was almost murdered by the police. I'm so glad that I'm white. Otherwise, I'd probably be dead. It was like, Queen, please read the room. Oh, there's just so much juicy shit with this. I totally forget about all of it. Oh.
Saw the weapon.
The email, Sorrenti says, had given out her real address and resulted in police with guns at her doorstep and her being arrested.
When I went into the hallway and then saw that assault rifle, I screamed and I thought I was going to die.
A month later, she admitted that they didn't enter her apartment until after she was in custody.
They did not go into my apartment until after I was in custody, and they had a search warrant signed.
These next few clips are of Alex, her fiancé at the time. Alex confirms she didn't wake up with a gun in her face and reveals Clara wasn't even the one to answer the door. They spoke to Alex first, who was already awake, and gave Clara enough time to put on pajamas.
So it
Yeah, this is it. I knew I still had it. Every time I see another story involving an innocent black man being killed by the police, I think back to last month when an assault rifle pointed at me by the police and how easily that situation could have escalated if I wasn't white. I hope Elijah McClain finds justice. Literally, like, how can I make this about me maxing? Every time you see an innocent black man killed by the police, you're like, God, somehow this has to be about me.
it wasn't quite that they knocked on the door and I answered. Rather, I was getting ready for the shower and there was a tremendous pounding. And so, yeah, someone did not wake her with a
tremendous pounding, you guys. Tremendous pounding. Sorry, we shouldn't make jokes. This is a serious topic, I'm sorry.
Rifle pointed 3 inches from her face, but essentially as soon as she woke up...
Was I in a state of undress? I was naked, and I had to put on a pair of pajamas that was, like, on the floor before I could even go out to see the police officers.
See, the story has already morphed significantly from Clara waking up to guns in her face, to seeing guns in the hallway, to police never entering the apartment at all. The lack of consistency is concerning, given she was supposed to be taking legal action against them. And I mean, Keffals went so far as to compare herself to a victim of police brutality. Every time I see another story involving an innocent black man being killed by the police, I think back to last month when I had an assault rifle. Dog, whatever you think about the interaction, it is by no means comparable to what happened to Elijah McClain. And the fact that she can't keep her story straight just makes this so much more worse. Clara also claimed police were transphobic and booked her under a dead name. If you're unaware, dead naming again refers to using a prior name for a trans person generally associated with the gender they were assigned at birth.
During the arrest, the police officer referred to me by my dead name. I was booked in the station under my dead name. The police, when talking to my mother, referred to me as her son. The fact that a fake email...
All I want to say is, and this is a big reason why I don't really make prepared content anymore, you guys, the cold stare into the camera is so unsettling. It's so unsettling where you're like... And then, as a white person, I feared for my life, remembering all those who came before me. Trayvon Martin, Elijah McClain. Was my fate similar to theirs? With, like, the unbreaking eye contact, it's like... Ooh. 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 It's too much, bro. It's too much.
Led to London police services booking me under my dead name, reveals the prejudice that many police have towards transgender people. This is despite the fact that the email contained my real name before ever even mentioning my dead name. This is one of the property bags returned to me after I was released from custody. All of the property bags returned.
I can't take this fucking video seriously! This is my King of Wands card. This is my King of Wands card that fell off of the wall while I was being brutally assaulted and misgendered by the police. It's like, oh, it's so uncomfortable to watch.
To me have Roberts written on them. Roberts was my last name until I legally changed my name first to Kaylee Sorrenti on January 25th, 2012.
On August 11th, London Police Chief Steve Williams put out a statement regarding some of her accusations. He states that all activity in the holding cells is monitored by audio and video equipment. They reviewed the footage and found no evidence of Miss Sorrenti.
Okay, I'm gonna get stun locked hella fucking hard right here. Keffals has purged her Twitter multiple times, so I'm not gonna be able to find it. Keffals has said to my recollection, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong, Keffals has said that she is actually not autistic. She just said that she was autistic so she could call people the R word. Does anybody remember that? Because I remember that clear as fucking day. Can anybody corroborate this for me in chat? I'm not going to argue over whether or not Keffals is diagnosed, but Keffals has said on multiple occasions that she just says that she has shit so she can say the slurs. Okay? Like, hello, does anybody else remember this? Because I remember it. Somebody confirm. Somebody confirm for me. Because I remember that happening. It was the same thing with like the genderqueer shit, where she was like, everybody pretend to be like a black trans woman of color and make like a, what are they called? Like the pit crew avatars and then invade genderqueer spaces and like rage bait. Like she does crazy shit like that all the time. I don't think that she, oh yeah, she did an online test so she could reclaim the word the R word. Exactly. Thank you. I remember that correctly. Also, let's just pretend for a second that she isn't autistic, okay? She claims to have psychomotor. So, I mean, I guess if you have that, you could reclaim the R slur. But again, because we are very dishonest at every turn about everything for little to no reason at all, and we really love embellishing things, I truthfully don't even know if she has psychomotor. I don't know. And nobody get fucking mad at me. That's what that's called. That's what that disorder is called. It's called psychomotor. Okay, that's what it's called.
Being addressed by her dead name and gender. Williams concluded her dead name was used on property bags due to the existence of a prior police report, explaining that it was literally for tracking purposes. He apologized and ensured a solution would be implemented to prevent any of this in the future. Claire responded to the statement by reiterating her dead name was used during the arrest. She even speculated the timing may have been intentional so they wouldn't get caught.
It's important that he said, while I cannot confirm any conversations which might have transpired during Ms. Sorrenti's initial arrest, and that's when it happened, the activity in the holding cells is monitored. And I never made a statement about any bad things that happened while I was in custody. I would absolutely assume that when the police know that these things are being recorded and can be part of public record, they would be more careful with how they go about their business. I don't expect them to acknowledge how bad the situation actually was. And there's no way of verifying it besides first-person testimony because there's no body cams in the London Police Service.
Her own partner then contradicts the claim that she was dead named during the arrest, though alludes to unspecified misgendering that occurred. Once again, any instance after the arrest should have been captured on recording.
And they yelled at Clara while she was in bed, so she got up. They were saying Clara Sorrenti. Note that they did not use her dead name at this point either.
As far as I know, is there anything I missed, Alex?
I think that's really the main gist of the arrest portion, which was really the most traumatic in terms of, you know, having the guns pointed at us, the misgendering that occurred. Yeah, that whole arrest. That is how it happened. It wasn't straight up dynamic entry. They didn't.
The absence of evidence means that this only remains a he said, she said scenario, but it's hard to take Clara's word at face value given her complete and total lack of credibility. Another key part of her story was that police had confiscated their devices, resulting in significant financial.
And just for the record, if she was like misgendered and shit in custody, like that's shitty. That's shitty, of course. However, I don't like, there's not like evidence of this happening. And the police deny it. She says it happens, you know. But again, for me personally, like Muta is right. She has significantly destroyed her credibility in most things. Another thing that Muta is going to touch on right here is that one of the big claims that Keffals makes religiously is that she lost income during this time because she was essentially arrested and all of her shit was confiscated. August 5th was when she was swatted. So right here in August, we didn't take a hit to our income for this. We actually made money in August. So, interesting, guys. Interesting. Lemon interesting, isn't it?
Damages.
They seized both my personal and work phone, as well as the work computer that I broadcast on Twitch from. Not only that, but the police seized my fiance's cell phones and laptop, as well as their external drive, which contained the only copy of their PhD thesis and other important university documents. Because of the negligence of the police, we were both left functionally unemployed, and I have spent thousands of dollars replacing our computers and cell phones.
And this was one of her justifications to launch the GoFundMe, to recoup her losses.
I started a GoFundMe to move immediately, recoup my losses, and build a legal fund to protect my rights.
But there were no losses to recoup. The devices were returned after 3 days.
I eventually got my stuff back in like 3 days and got an apology from the chief of police.
That's nice.
So yeah, that was really nice. Not nice how they responded to the situation, but I'll take it.
Now, if we're to believe that she meant 3 days after the swatting, that would place it on August 8th, a day before the GoFundMe started. There's also footage of Clara picking up her belongings from the police station, where you can see this property bag. It heavily resembles the property bag seen in her initial video. A close-up of one of the labels shows us a date of August 8th, 2022.
Oh my
This again
God,
implies
that's
that she got her
crazy
stuff back
sleuthing, you
before
guys.
the
That's
video and
crazy.
GoFundMe ever even went live, and knowingly lied about needing to buy a new cell phone and computer.
Shit.
Given no one made that assertion, at best, she got her stuff back the next day, because this upload is dated August 10th. There is no way to reconcile these statements, and either way, it was dishonest to never update that campaign campaign to reflect this.
Because of the negligence of the police, we were both left functionally unemployed. And I have spent thousands of dollars replacing our computers and cell phones, so our lives aren't completely destroyed by what happened to us.
Now, Keffals launched her GoFundMe on August 9, 2022 with an initial goal of $20,000. The page claims that if this amount was exceeded, the funds would be allocated to a legal fund to protect herself against ongoing and future threats to her safety. However, this was later changed to, I am keeping the GoFundMe up, but all donations are going directly to my legal fund, which I will be using to seek justice. Now, this is a very, very important distinction, because it means all the donations past the first 20 grand were explicitly for legal action. See, Clara gradually kept raising the goal until it reached over $100,000 on the 20th. If you want to be technical, it actually never ended, because she's still taking donations to this day. In fact, there wasn't even a fixed amount, which is odd, as it makes it seem like her goal was to basically raise as much money as possible rather than afford an intentional expense. Naturally, with her effort raising over $100,000, there were questions over how the money was spent. Claire's tried to poison the well numerous times by calling anyone who asks this question bad faith. I'll never do a GoFundMe breakdown for bad faith actors who neither support me nor contributed to the fund in the first place. Well, what if I gave money? Am I now allowed to ask? Ooh, that's a question we should bring up. You have to remember, this was a story
let's go,
that got mainstream
Budar.
coverage.
Okay.
There were over 150 articles published about the situation, including The Guardian, NBC, CNN, Bloomberg, the Associated Press, and Canadian state-funded news outlet CBC. Popular politicians like Jagmeet Singh of the NDP party took a stand by her publicly. Normies were led to believe a series of events that did not occur. And there are regular folk out there who don't have the time or capability to ensure their funds weren't misused, especially when there is a limited amount of financial support for at-risk members of the trans community. There is nothing wrong with questioning for transparency of where this money had went. In fact, more people should actually be asking where this money even went. Clara posted this photo in her Discord server, which was enough for trolls to bombard the hotel with pizzas. The next day, she uploaded a video declaring things had escalated and she was now in hiding. If you recall, another goal of hers was to move out immediately after someone hacked her Uber Eats account and sent.
I personally love how she was like, I'm in hiding. Anyway, here's my address. Like, oh, this whole saga is just fucking insane, dude. The whole thing is just crazy.
And $500 worth of food.
So what happened, I woke up and I got an email that the Uber,
I know, I'm sorry,
the email
you guys.
for my
I'm
Uber
sorry.
Eats account was changed. And then I looked outside the door and there was like at least $500 worth of food ordered with my hacked Uber account. So I got doxxed again, except this time I also got hacked.
She expedited an already planned trip to Europe. Her rationale was that London police didn't have the resources to stop online trolls. And then she went live to provide further details.
Are you moving to Europe? I'm gonna be living there for a while, but I'm not moving there. My fiance is staying back in Canada, and I'm gonna be in the UK on my own for a while. I think that the current plan is that in 2-3 weeks of my stay, my fiance is going to be coming over, and we'll stay together for a while. On Monday, I find out if I got approved or not for the new place that I want to live at, which will give us a really good time frame of what we're gonna do.
Her fans begged her to stop giving out information.
Stop giving out details. Stop telling me what to do.
Later that day, Clara tweeted, do I have any followers in Europe? Let me know if you want to meet up. Her
Oh
first
my
stream back
God.
revealed she was in Northern Ireland.
So I'm okay. I am currently in Ireland. I am
Why?
staying with a
Why
friend.
would you do that?
I'm safe. Things are good. Don't tell people what country. It is completely fine. Do you know how dense Ireland is? Very dense country. I do not think it's going to be a problem.
She was staying with a friend named Ellen. Her ex-fiancé never moved over, for reasons we're actually going to discuss later. Ellen had already been doxxed months prior, and their apartment was found within 24 hours. And a troll took this photo outside their building. They were able to find her location just by using a doorknob. To be clear, I'm not endorsing any of this behavior or doing it, or even saying if you're careless, you deserve that this happens to you. My argument is that if you're willing to leave a continent to another continent to escape trolls, there is a lot you could do for less to mitigate the risk of doxing. For example, not buying equipment specifically for IRL streaming and announcing where you're going to be in advance. At one point, Ellen revealed they were going to go to visit a poutine truck in Belfast. The owner received bomb threats, which Clara used to tease an IRL stream on Twitter. Hey, maybe it's a one-off mistake, right? A day later, Ellen publicly fielded suggestions for future IRL stream locations in Ireland. I want to reiterate, if you are in hiding, why would you buy new streaming equipment specifically for streaming in the public, and then also share where you plan on going in advance? By her own admission, she wanted to stoke the flames in order to maximize publicity.
By intentionally making
I
myself a
remember
lightning
this,
rod,
yeah.
so I could make kiwi farms more vicious and attack me to the point where Cloudflare had no choice. Because every time they attacked me, I publicized it. One of the things that I did intentionally for the success of the campaign was make myself a lightning rod. I egged them on. I egged kiwi farms on. I wanted them to attack me. Because by doing that, I was able to show the world how.
I think that if you want to be like this martyr, like if you want to do this, I mean, it's a free country. Well, in Canada, I don't know. You guys have weird laws. But like, if you want to do this and be like the martyr for the just cause of taking down evil kiwi farms, I think that you kind of cede all like ability to constantly use it as like a shield, one. And then two, do you just have like no wherewithal about the people around you? You know what I mean? Because in the course of all of this, like, she wasn't the only one that was, like, getting shit, right? It was, like, her family. I'm pretty sure, like, her whole fucking mod team got doxxed, and those people arguably didn't do anything. Her family, like, all this other shit. It's like, if you want to do that, I mean, sure, it's a free country, do as you wish, I suppose. But it's like, have you no shame? Have you no shame about the way that people around you are going to be, like, ruthlessly attacked because you want to be, like, a martyr for this cause that, truthfully, was a big fat fucking nothing burger?
How fucking vile they are.
In the past, streamers have been punished for similar behavior. Ice Poseidon was notorious for being a constant target of swatting. He was ultimately banned after streaming and getting swatted inside an airport, and while it wasn't his fault, at a certain point he was clearly feigning ignorance and enabling his troll's behavior for content. What makes Clara's behavior different, and what actually prevented her from staying in Canada? Well, if you think it's fucked up for me to question it, don't worry, because Keffals has since admitted that this entire cover story was all a lie. Nowadays, her explanation for leaving the continent was not to escape online harassment, but to escape her ex-fiancé, Alex, who she now accuses of being abusive. To not get too deep into it, this is after her ex-fiancé called her out for leaving to cheat on her with Ellen.
This is where I need to admit something. Last year, I was in the papers. This was on CBC, Canada's biggest media outlet. Twitch streamer and trans activist says she's leaving Canada for a while due to harassment. Earlier this month, Clara Sorrenti was the target of a swatting incident and has been doxxed and hacked. And there was a criticism that I frequently got throughout that time. How does moving to a different country help you with online harassment? And
Great question,
as we
by the
found
way.
out, it didn't. Because once I landed in
We all
Belfast,
could have told you
I
that.
had people showing up, making threats outside of where I was staying. And I knew that no matter where I went in the world, I would not escape online harassment as long as I...
You know where you can escape online harassment, though? However, offline. Like Tyler the Creator said, you guys, just close your eyes. Like, just, like, fuck off. I don't know what to say.
was an online figure. And the truth is, I left the country because of my ex, and because I was scared of my ex, because my ex was abusive and abused me emotionally and yelled at me and consistently coerced me into sex. That's why I left. But I couldn't tell anyone. I didn't want it to be a big thing. I didn't want it to be in the papers while all the journalists were circling around and writing their stories. I didn't want that to be known. I didn't want any of this to ever be out in public. So here's
Her escape basically amounted to a paid-for vacation across Europe, evident by a leaked post from her closed Twitter circle on September 14th. Clara reveals she was staying in Ireland until the 27th, then heading to Spain until the 11th, before moving into her apartment on the 12th. Now, the dates imply that she had already just bought tickets, but she ended up in London instead to watch a play. Clara then briefly returned to Ireland before flying to the United States to attend TwitchCon. Not only did she stream the event IRL, but she even antagonized Destiny's ex-wife for being married to him.
Keffals went to go, and she went up to Melina, and she was like, she was shaking. Like, it was like she was so anxious or so angry, she was shaking.
I don't remember if it's included in here or not, but Keffals also called Chud Logic a pedophile for, like, no fucking reason. She literally saw Chud Logic and was like, isn't this guy a pedophile? And that was like, hello? What?
Right? And she said, tell your husband, if he doesn't stop coming for me, I'm going to get his YouTube channel deleted. No memes. That happened, okay?
So Keffals moved into her new apartment on October 12th and used some of the GoFundMe money to pay for a full year's worth of rent in advance.
So just a quick update. I have an apartment for October. I'm moving then. I have it. I've already paid. I'm putting it, like, I'm using the GoFundMe money to pay an entire year in advance.
Now, which is not something she ever said she was going to do, and a huge departure from just moving. Clara moves into a luxury apartment, and with a low approximation amounting to $28,000. So far, Clara has admitted to spending the money on new devices, as well as equipment for IRL streaming. She traveled across Europe.
Wait, what did that say?
So far, Clara has admitted to spending the money on new devices, as well
28,000 of that on a year's rent. Jesus Christ.
as equipment for IRL streaming. She traveled across Europe, planning to visit Spain from Ireland, but ended up at a play in London instead. She then flies to TwitchCon in the United States before getting an apartment in Canada and then paying an entire year's worth of rent. There, she bought even more equipment to build a professional set with studio lights. While it's difficult to make an exact calculation for this, the gaming chair alone, her gaming chair, would have cost over $2,000.
I had to take extra
What the fuck, bro? $2,000 for a chair? Oh my god. That shit better, like, oh my god, for $2,000 for a chair? $2,000 for a chair, that better come with, like, a built-in fucking bidet. Like, what the fuck?
With the set that I made. It's not even a set, it's just, like, part of my home. But it is basically a set. I have, like, studio lights, I have, like, whole camera thing, it's very professional. So I had to go through all of this, as soon as I got back from TwitchCon, to make sure that I could just, like, return to my life before I was swatted.
But see, that wasn't the only thing she admits to spending some of this GoFundMe money on. Clara also says she contracted a security company in September to keep herself safe.
I consulted with a security company, and they made all of my devices hack-proof, and they gave me tips on not getting doxxed again. They also helped me with a whole bunch of other stuff that I can't talk about because I signed an NDA, like a non-disclosure agreement. I already hired a lawyer, and all of the information between me and my lawyer is privileged and confidential, and I can't talk about it. So the money towards a legal fund is being utilized, but until the point where I can actually talk about what I'm doing, I can't say anything. So I use the money to find a place, to contract a security company to keep myself safe, and to hire a lawyer.
This raises an interesting question on what the security company was doing beyond making her devices hack-proof. That same month, she confronted a prolific member of the Kiwi Farms thread. Keffals tried to intimidate the user with their personal information, claiming to have hired a private investigator. I know the PI will get me more, though. He's still talking to the family and school officials. This didn't work because they doxed the wrong person. The user mocked her and asked if she paid for the PI using her GoFundMe. Clara responded, no, the GoFundMe is...
Dude, imagine getting a PI and they dox the wrong fucking person, bro. Oh, can you get refunds on PIs? Oh my god, how cringe.
currently in savings until I need to use it. In case you doubt the authenticity of these messages, Clara has confirmed that they are real several times. And I don't know about you, but hiring a private investigator so you can confront trolls with bad info doesn't sound like the action of someone in fear of their life. Her messages also contradict a tweet where she says $50,000 was already put into the legal fund. The final thing Clara mentions in that stream clip is using the money to hire a lawyer. What's interesting is that by her own words, she already had a lawyer and was consulting two more, the day after the GoFundMe had launched. It was one of her earliest responses to criticisms over reportedly raising her goal.
Yes, I'm using these funds to move, but more importantly, once I'm safe, the rest of those funds are going to be used for legal expenses. Because I'm not just moving, I'm also taking legal action. I already have one lawyer, and I'm consulting with two more. I'm going to get justice for what happened to me, and for every other marginalized person in this country who has been victimized. Legal fees are incredibly expensive, and I feel very fortunate that I was able to raise this much money, because I would not be able to take legal action if it wasn't for that.
This is strange in retrospect, as only 12 days later, she made it very clear she was holding off pursuing legal action against the London police.
After it first happened, I was very mad at the police, and I wanted to hold their feet to the fire as much as possible. I wanted to even potentially pursue legal action against them, but they've taken the threat against my life very seriously, and I want to see justice. There's a lot of leads right now, and they might actually be able to catch the person who swatted me. And with what is going on and the connections to Kiwi Farms, knowing that they're monitoring the thread, we might actually see something happen.
Now, at around the same time, she told the Kiwi Farms user the money was in savings. She claimed she never said she was going to sue the police.
Yeah, that's all I said. I never said that I was going to sue the police. I wanted to be very careful with the language that I used.
This is just like a really good example of like, if you are planning on doing any of this shit, like if you are going to, you know, like pursue legal action, if you are going to do any of those things, like just shut the fuck up about it. Like do it all in the background. Like don't make a spectacle about it, because then when you know, inadvertently trip on your words, like congratulations, you just fucked yourself.
Because I don't know exactly what the plan is. I know that I'm eventually going to take legal action in some way or another, but I don't know yet, and I can't talk about the different things that have been discussed between my lawyer and I.
Now, going back to Destiny's manifesto, this was scrutinized on a much wider scale, which led many to start asking for a breakdown of expenses. Clara refused, because I'm not providing a product to investors, I won't be sharing expense breakdowns. I've been advised by lawyers to keep everything close to vest for legal and safety reasons.
But
Clara
she's fine
reviewed that
just
there was a
talking
legal
about it
fund,
endlessly on
but she got an
stream.
apartment and was now processing the entire event. Now, you're probably wondering, if she wasn't planning on suing the police, why did she hire lawyers, and what was the point of the legal fund? Well, if you read between the lines, some of you might be able to infer what actually happened. On October 2nd, 2022, Clara posted a client engagement agreement to prove legal action was underway. If you look at the bottom, you can see the document reads, "We have concluded a review of our records, and we confirm that we have not identified a conflicting interest in representing you in this matter. We searched the following names that you provided to us as being relevant. The terms they searched for were Clara Sorrenti, Kiwi Farms, and KiwiFarms.net. Now, this proves she was paying money to consult lawyers about a lawsuit against Kiwi Farms, but not the London police. It's dated August 10th, the same exact day as her stream, stating that she'd consulted a lawyer. There isn't actually even a good explanation of why she did this. Kiwi Farms was never mentioned as the intended target of her legal fund. The only entity named in the GoFundMe was the London police. So this took place around the same time she claimed she never intended to sue the police. And if you're wondering why it didn't go anywhere, for as much as people hate Kiwi Farms, the website is entirely legal. There are countless examples of attempted litigation that demonstrate this and why it never actually came to fruition. One thing I also want to address is some people have said, whoa, did you get some of your evidence on the Kiwi Farms? Even if I did, that doesn't make the evidence inadmissible. A lot of the Kiwi Farms evidence is actually cataloged on archive websites that capture a snapshot of a webpage and tweets and whatnot. This is to ensure that nothing that I'm showing you is actually altered, and it was as it was originally posted. This makes the evidence admissible. It's kind of like saying, wow, did you find that perfectly good piece of evidence sitting in the middle of a neo-Nazi compound? Yeah, trust me, I get the whole building surrounding it is pretty shitty, but that doesn't mean the evidence is inadmissible. It's still perfectly good evidence. I just wanted to address this point because it's a common deflection and one that I absolutely need to nip in the butt.
Yeah, this, again, this is just something that is really, like, endlessly annoying with all of this shit, is, like, I understand. Okay, I get it, you guys. Fruit side is bad. I disavow. Whatever. You know, boo, hiss. We hate it. Whatever. Okay. Do they say like shitty things on there? Yes. Like, are they really transphobic and say like crazy shit? Yes. Okay, whatever. But hear me out. Again, if there is a literal screenshot of this thing, like you say X, and I show you a screenshot of you saying X, and then you go, where did you get that screenshot? And I say, oh, I don't know, it might have come from the dark arts. And you go, oh, well then, fuck you. I'm not going to answer to that because I don't have to, because you got it from a bad source. It's like you still said X though. So why did you say X? I'm not talking to you. You use the dark arts. I'm not talking about it. It's like, again, regardless of how you feel, okay, it's bad. Yes, you know. Boo, everybody, I'm gonna shake my head while I talk about this so everybody knows that I disavow. Okay, I'm gonna shake my head really. It's just so bad, okay? Like, you still have criticisms to address. It doesn't really matter where it came from. Like, did you say this, yes or no? If yes, answer. If no, okay, then we can talk about that. Like, there's still criticism regardless of where it comes from, okay? Like, broken clocks and such, you guys. Broken clocks and such. I don't know what to say.
Doing Kiwi Farms was actually something that I previously considered and was consulting with lawyers about doing that. And I basically came to the conclusion after looking into it that it's not worth it. There's little I can do as a Canadian to benefit from doing a lawsuit against Kiwi Farms. The only possible lawsuit being a defamation lawsuit, which there is little to no benefit for me to do.
3 days after posting that letter, Claire admitted on a private stream that she hadn't even started yet. Her unnecessary traveling is blamed for keeping her busy, which to me is an admission that she wasn't all that interested in consulting her lawyers.
But now I'm...
Wait, I'm gonna back up just a little bit.
Claire admitted on a private stream that she hadn't even started yet. Her unnecessary traveling is blamed for keeping her busy, which to me is an admission that she wasn't all that interested in consulting her lawyers.
But now I'm going to be focusing more on the legal things because I'm settled down, I'm back in Canada, and I have time to work on this now. Consulted quite a bit with my lawyers, but we, at the time, were, especially during the campaign, basically unsure of how to go forward, especially because my availability was kind of all over the place.
And that's because this will be a very important issue later. She was still in the process of collecting evidence.
But the problem is right now is that I'm still in the process of I have to collect all the evidence. One of the first steps that you need to do is collect evidence. And if you announce prematurely who you are taking legal action against, it gives that party an opportunity to try and destroy as much evidence as possible. I'm not even going to publicly comment on the party either.
Now, for this to make sense, you kind of have to assume she wasn't talking about the police. In that case, we already know what proof does or does not exist. Her recount can't be proven, and even if we're to believe her, it's hard to argue the police acted out of prejudice. This is brought up by Nicholas DiOrio, who got some interesting answers out of her on stream. The first clip is Clara stating she was still engaged in legal action against the police.
I wasn't aware you were still engaging with legal action on the police.
I am. It's just like... there's been so much shit that happened, and then like immediately after like getting back from everything, I had to move, and I like just got unpacked like 2 weeks ago.
Claire describes a specific incident in which she was dead named while being put in handcuffs. However, she admits it could have been an honest mistake, and the officer didn't know what a dead name was.
Now, there are questions as to the dead naming taking place. They claim they have no footage of you being dead named once you get back to the precinct, and you claim there was dead naming, so the only time that could have happened is during the swatting itself. Is that still something that you claim?
Yeah, that was something that happened with the constable that arrested me, like when I was actually being put in handcuffs.
Look, I don't have a problem with spicing up the story a little bit, but, and I understand the like how this upset you and your family, but it really does sound like you kind of slandered those cops. Like, I
don't think I slandered them. I mean, like,
taking them at face value, right? For that they thought when they were going into your house that they were like potentially dealing with somebody who was planning to shoot up a like public office building or something like that with like politicians. Then like it's totally possible that they thought that was your name. Like that you went by that name. So
I don't know, because the email, did you read the email?
Yes, I did read
the first sentence of the email is, my name is Clara Sorrenti.
But then it was signed with your dead name.
It said, my name is Clara Sorrenti, and then my dead name is blank, and they put the dead name. So they made a decision at that point that they thought that my name wasn't actually my name and dead name was a real name. The officer that actually like arrested me said she did not actually know what a dead name was.
Now, this is where the story starts to take a very drastic turn. In the same private stream, Clara states that she had 2 years to take legal action due to the statute of limitations. Her plan was to start sometime in December or January of 2023.
A timeline of how things are happening. I have a total of 2 years to take legal actions. That's a statute of limitations. I want to start before this year ends, ideally. Like, if I can kick things off in December or in January in the new year, that would be ideal. That's what I want.
Let's reset these
I talked
bars,
to my lawyer
guys.
today, And it's looking like January is the month where I'm going to be filing against the London Police Service. Once the video, everyone will know like all of the details of the case going forward. I've already been told that the case that I'm about to start could take up to 5 years.
This never came to fruition, with the activist drifting away from politics and stoking the flames of online drama. She started fighting with people like Keemstar in her own community, to the point that Drop Kiwi Farms officially denounced her. Her self-destructive behavior drew a lot of concern, which eventually led people to discover that she'd actually relapsed into addiction. It was leaked publicly on February 19, 2023, and a few days later that Clara admitted herself to inpatient rehab. Now, I'm not here to shame Keffals about her addiction. It's important for people to take recovery very seriously. But the timeline of events also can't be ignored. The relapse occurred after the attempted swatting. Clara says after settling into her new apartment in October, she began drinking excessively. And at the start of 2023, she started doing full-blown Colombian. And I'm not talking about no coffee, boy.
I got really depressed. I lost interest in politics. I lost interest in basically all of the things that helped me build a platform in the first place. And around the end of 2022, I started drinking, which made me spiral. It was around the time that I was in fights with Keemstar. I started drinking, and then as more and more shit started happening, I started doing cocaine at the start of 2023.
Near the end of the month, she went on an 8-day coke bender, before finding out that some of that coke was, I guess, cut with meth.
8 days into a cocaine bender, I found out that the coke that I was doing was cut with meth. So for 8 days straight, I was doing coke and meth.
This took place a few days after she had said—
You guys, this is why you just shouldn't do cocaine, okay? Because it's always cut with other shit, okay? Just don't do it. Just get like an Adderall prescription. Save yourself the trouble of accidentally doing meth, and don't do it, okay? Don't do it, you guys.
The dreaded R word, ooh, which he later blamed on withdrawals, apparently. Her spiral worsened as she started doing coke, meth, benzos, while attempting to buy H on the dark web.
Started doing coke and meth and benzos, and I was planning on ordering him from the dark net.
After the backlash, Clara went into rehab on February 22nd.
Christ.
In the next few days, I will be admitted to rehab. The doctor said that because of the drugs I'm addicted to, without medical supervision, detoxing will kill me. Now, I'm inclined to believe her on this, given that she didn't return until about a month later. Clara later admitted that she spent more money going to rehab than she ever had on actual drugs.
I was in rehab for 34 days before I discharged. I went to the Addiction Rehabilitation Toronto facility, and it was one of the best decisions I think I've ever made.
While Addiction Rehab Toronto doesn't have prices listed on their sites, aggregators like Recovery.com price a 3-day stay at the facility at $20,000 Canadian dollars. And that is a fourth of the entire dollar amount. It's hard to believe that expense, on top of buying enough drugs to end up there in the first place, had no bearing on how that GoFundMe money was used. One of her
It's criminal how expensive rehab is, you guys. It's just fucking criminal. Like, people are trying to get their shit together. You're gonna charge them 2 arms and 1 leg to try and get into recovery. It's criminal, if you ask me. And again, we love our kings and queens and other that struggle with drug addiction, okay? Get clean. Get sober, guys. You can do it. I believe in you. Drugs bad, okay?
admitted the habit went a bit into the fun money at the end. However much a bit is, we might never know. Her relapse began right as she was supposed to initiate legal action. That, by her own admission, hadn't even started. Remember, she was apparently collecting evidence to beat the terms and paying an entire year's worth of rent because fuck it, why not? She spiraled, necessitating a month-long stay at a rehab facility that cost approximately $20K USD. Sorry, hold on a minute. I'm having a little brain fart. Canadian dollars, okay? Big difference. With the latter beginning in the exact time frame she claimed to finally take action against London police. Now, of course, there is one last hope for the GoFundMe money going towards anything vaguely resembling those initial stated goals. In April of 2024, Keffals' lawyer, Justin Annisman, filed a complaint against London Police Services with the Canadian Human Rights Tribune. The application hereby argues she is the victim of discrimination by London Police Services, referred to henceforth as LPS. Now, the 5 examples given, 3 of them discuss her dead name being used in their records. This is true, and acknowledged by London Police in their first statement. The complaint further alleges LPS officers used her dead name and gender. During the arrest, this cannot be proven as no body cam footage exists. In a private conversation, she explained pushing body cams was one of her main goals. If I could get one thing from all of this, it would be body cams, since the police didn't even have them in my hometown. There is no evidence where she is well aware of, hence why her last point is actually kind of bizarre. The complaint introduces an entirely new accusation and has somehow gone unmentioned so far. Clara alleges that an officer groped her breast and said, "Yeah, it's a she." The fact that we haven't heard about this before is insane. It completely changes the narrative. This realistically should have been her leading story, since it's also at gunpoint, apparently. This is another thing that I'll say in regards... Sorry, I'm going to switch gears from talking about drugs, you guys. Something that I think is really telling, too, is usually, like, if somebody's coming out with something, you're going to start with, like, your strongest bit of evidence, right? So if I was arrested and, you know, the cops were really, like, mean and transphobic to me and say that they, like, I don't know, like, molested me to see what gender I was or whatever, that would be like the first thing I would say in regards to that, right? I would be like, you guys, you're never gonna believe this. I was arrested and they molested me to see what gender I was, and it was like super fucked up. That would be like the first thing that I said, right? And the fact that people will like add on additional details later
I wouldn't say that it necessarily means that it's untrue, but it's usually an embellishment or an exaggeration, because if it really was like that fucked up, people usually start with that. You're not gonna like tack that on at the end and like, oh, by the way, I was molested. Like you're probably gonna start with that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
True, the interaction recontextualizes every claim of dead naming. It also makes her behavior afterward much stranger, given that she seemed to forgive LPS in favor of pursuing action against Kiwi Farms.
Lawyers. Yeah, that's all I said. I never said that I was going to sue the police. I basically had to make peace with it. Like, after it first happened, I was very mad at the police. And I wanted to hold their feet to the fire as much as possible. I wanted to even potentially pursue legal action against them. But they've taken the threat against my life very seriously. And I want to see justice.
Now, this is in stark contrast to the reduced feelings and security described by Clara as a result of her inability to trust LPS. This impacted her ability to earn a living. In the 6 months since the events at issue in this application, Ms. Sorrenti has seen a reduction in income of more than 25%. That document further alleges that their treatment of Clara left her unable to leave her home. By the way of example, she feels incapable of leaving her home or socializing productively with friends and family out in the community because of a fear that LPS will continue to discriminate against her. This is patently untrue, given that the time frame is when she traveled across the world. It also doesn't make any sense to blame London police for that reduced income. And it only gets crazier when you realize the complaint seeks $125,000 in damages. Accordingly, the applicant seeks the following remedies: a declaration that the LPS discriminated against the applicant contrary to Section 1 of the Code, in order for damages of the injury to applicant's dignity, feelings, and self-respect in the total amount of $75,000, and an order that LPS compensate the applicant for the loss of income suffered and other special damages incurred as a result of the discriminatory plus interest
It's okay,
therein
Funko, you're
in
here
the
now.
amount of $50,000. Now, I can't claim to know the intricacies behind the actual lawsuit over here in the Human Rights Tribunal. To be honest, I've tried researching this and I've called around as much as I can, but obviously information on a case, if it's pending and ongoing, isn't going to be shared, nor is a status really something to be handed out about. But at the end of the day, I'm not a lawyer, so me digging into this isn't necessarily going to do much more than you would expect. But that being said, okay, with all of this brought up, this is, I guess, the only last Hail Mary that we have. And if you ask Keffals, the reason they decided to go with the Human Rights Tribunal rather than a lawsuit is because the Human Rights Tribunal has unique powers that a civil suit does not. In Canada, if they were simply to do a lawsuit, all they would get is money. They are apparently pushing for police body cams, which is the complete goal right there. And papers have been processed, and they're awaiting dates to appear in the tribunal. And I'm told this could take a minimum of 2 years at best, and 6 years at worst, depending on if this gets escalated to a higher judicial body. So again, I'm not an expert at the HRTO, and this section might be pending, and because Keffals is, I guess, quiet these days, I'm blocked, so I wouldn't really know. There might be updates to this, there might not be, okay? But
I mean, there's because if she filed in April, which is when she claimed to have filed, the year deadline would have been up, so...
section off, to recap, Keffals deliberately tried to raise as much money as possible. None of her
And
reasons
that
make
is
any
true,
sense.
Noval.
She
It is free to file. That is true. That is true.
didn't need to move and use the money for a vacation in Europe, it seems. She didn't just use the fund for moving expenses, but a full year's worth of rent, something she never said she was going to do. And as far as we can tell, she had no tangible losses. All of her possessions were returned within days, and the legal fund was for a nebulous lawsuit that has changed targets twice. The closest we saw to any actual legal action was that HRTO complaint, which doesn't even require a lawyer and is completely free. It's unlikely to go anywhere since she apparently has no evidence, no credibility, and seemingly no actual legal standing. Okay, so now that we've covered the swatting and her GoFundMe, let's talk about her campaign to drop Kiwi Farms. An important thing to recognize is that this is a public discussion forum. You can see what people are saying, and that also means it's difficult to prove something was their fault if they didn't brag about it on the site. To be clear, they're not innocent whatsoever. They're not entirely innocent. They collect and organize personal information, and I would never argue that they don't harass people. We can prove Kiwi Farms users doxed her old house and one of the hotel rooms. However, they weren't the main culprit. There is a completely different site that actually took credit for the harassment that veered into actual criminality. For the sake of not promoting it, we're going to be referring to this website as Website Zero, like others have before who've covered this topic. If you've read the thread closely, you'll discover Kiwi Farms users don't find out about the swatting until after her GoFundMe. On August 21st, Clara's Uber Eats account was hacked and she blamed Kiwi Farms. The next day, a post was made on Website Zero taking credit. She showed a receipt for the order as part of the docs. This post also included phone numbers, accounts, addresses, emails, and passwords belonging to Sorrenti, as well as many of her family members. The docs stayed pinned from the date it was created until September the 4th. It was being worked on publicly since March 28th, and with users actively calling for others to track her down. Despite this, Clara continued to blame Kiwi Farms instead for hacking her Uber account, even directly calling for Cloudflare to halt services in response to the hack. From here, she makes a decision to move to Northern Ireland to flee online harassment. And it's important to know that Kiwi Farms was down from August 26th to August 29th. Website Zero identified her location on August 26th thanks to that doorknob. Keffals blamed the Kiwi Farms, calling them out by name on the 29th. The same day, she claimed a Kiwi Farms user had identified her location and threatened to show up. She claimed to have identified the user and forwarded their information to the police. And this is true. If this is true, there's no reason for her to believe this individual had any association with Kiwi Farms. The user had been very active across 4chan and the rest of the internet on a variety of easily identifiable accounts. And they've also explicitly stated that they had no connection with Kiwi Farms. She already knew that this person was from 4chan, even showing the original threads in one of her tweets. When we spoke about his plan beforehand, he left comments on Website Zero, and Website Zero was never mentioned once in her account. Clara later claimed that this resulted in another swatting, stating the same thing repeated itself, except Northern Irish police did not put a firearm, did not pull a gun on her. Apparently, the police were called to investigate a made-up stabbing. She noted they were very friendly.
This followed me. I leave Canada, now I'm in Northern Ireland. The same thing repeated itself.
Yep.
Except Northern Irish police did not pull a firearm on me, so that's cool. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, no, like, someone called in saying that there was a stabbing in the apartment I'm in, and they just sent 2 police officers and they're knocking at the door. Like, compared to what happened in Canada when I got like an assault rifle pointed at me, that's nothing. Cops are playing with a cat here.
That's interesting that the Canadians are also so militarized, the police there. I didn't realize.
Police were calm during this incident because Keffals was not swatted. It was a wellness check from someone afraid she was in danger. The person who contacted police reached out to Destiny to explain they were worried about a stalker. They specifically refute the idea they called in a stabbing. On the H3H3 podcast, Keffals stated that the swatting had mentioned a stabbing, but that there were no guns when they visited. This link shows the armed response unit, which is deployed for when someone reports a stabbing in an active situation. There's a picture there that shows a dynamic entry. Someone with Ellen's background wouldn't realize that Northern Ireland does actually have a history of armed violence, and the PSNI response to what that violence is equivalent to the United States of America. The evidence strongly supports that the story Keffals gave on the H3H3 podcast about being swatted here is utter horseshit. And if you recall, law enforcement began actively investigating the people harassing her. As it turns out, they actually caught them. The harassment was largely perpetrated by a now defunct group on website Zero known as Vile. Vile doxed several people related to #DropKiwiFarms, including Keffals and the owner of the DIY HRT directory. This is easily proven as their signature is present in the pastes themselves. Some of their known techniques include using fake emergency data requests to impersonate government officials. They also use stolen passwords from law enforcement officers to subpoena companies into sharing private information. That info was then used for extortion. This criminal activity is only known because 2 members were arrested and charged in March of 2023. Now, while the group is defunct, as demonstrably law enforcement did their job, the important distinction here, though, is what Vile did was criminal. There is legal recourse for extortion. Amongst the many crimes they committed, Kiwi Farms, on the other hand, is still entirely legal, which is why she has to poison the well against them. Her motivations are especially curious given this DM from August 4th, a day before her swatting, where she flatly stated she didn't want to talk about Kiwi Farms anymore. Later on, Clara admitted she targeted the site not because she was in fear of her life, but because it was opportune timing.
All of us are here talking about like website X. We're all talking about how bad it is, how it's like a secret, how we don't speak the name of it, but everyone knows it and everyone's worried about it. And it's like, it sounds like the perfect website for a campaign for them to get dropped by their fucking service provider. Like, this is what I'm saying.
I don't think the momentum is there for that, though. Like, with the Drop Kiwi Farms campaign, it was just really opportune timing. I had all this media attention on me, and journalists were, like, following every fucking thing I said and did.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know about the second website until they went after me.
Yeah, when you describe it as like a worse version of the same website, but whoa, please don't talk about it. That's crazy.
Well,
it's very revealing that when a site exists embodying the very thing she accuses Kiwi Farms of doing, her reaction is completely different. While it's reasonable to not want others to find it, that doesn't justify blaming Kiwi Farms for the actions of another separate community. It's her refusal to acknowledge the actions of Website Zero as the actions of Website Zero that necessitates its mention. When asked, she fails to address this in a satisfying way.
Question, Keffals, to you. So basically, if there's another website that's doing things as malicious or more malicious than the Kiwi Farms post, I'm wondering, like, why not draw attention to that website in particular if they seem to be more inherently dangerous?
I don't think they're more inherently dangerous. They also don't have as many active users because the people who, on the other side, the people who do it, they're more technically skilled in what they do. But also because they had more extensive documentation of my family, and I didn't want to put that out there. I think that's reasonable, right? Like, I don't want my family to get hurt.
Sure, if you don't want your family to get hurt, that's fine. But the opposite of what you're saying right now was your justification as to why you have to go after Kiwi Farms. Like, this place is doxing you. This person's posting tons of your information.
Why do you defend
Kiwi Farms
so much? I think
it makes you wonder if she wasn't willing to go after the site because she was actually afraid. Why did she target Kiwi Farms in the first place? Why continuously lie about the site being down to your followers? Why accuse anyone with genuine criticism of you as having used the site? Is there something that she was trying to hide? So 47 minutes in, you probably know that I have to address the big
oh boy, here we go, guys.
In the room, okay? Horton here's a who, boyos. The reason for this is because
here we go. Let's go.
We can begin to have this conversation without showing now definitively that Keffals, as a narrator, cannot be trusted. The conversation surrounding the subject has been intentionally warped and obfuscated, and even questioning it will get you labeled a transphobe, okay? And I'm not a transphobe. I'm bringing this up, okay? This is very, this is a minefield I'm walking in, okay? When we talk about the harassment from Kiwi Farms, it can't be understated that they are transphobic. It's true. There is truth to the idea they'll call just about anyone a groomer just because that they're trans. However, this has allowed Keffals to absolve herself of responsibility of her own actions and pretend as if there's nothing she has personally done for people to distrust her character. Not only that, but she'll discredit any criticism by associating it with Kiwi Farms, the big bad farms. At the end of the day, if documentation exists, then regardless of that source, it speaks for itself. Keffals will hide behind her identity as a shield, accusing anyone who brings up her genuinely questionable behavior as pedo-jacketing. In reality, this is little more than an excuse to avoid accountability, and it's finally time to talk about do-it-yourself hormones and Catboy Ranch. In June of 2022, Clara began sponsoring the DIY HRT directory. For a myriad of reasons, hormone replacement therapy is often inaccessible to many trans people. The directory intends to teach people how to, quote-unquote, safely obtain HRT without a prescription. While some are legitimate pharmaceutical-grade medications, simply imported from other countries, the site also offers a number of homebrew sources. They are colloquially referred to as bathtub estrogen. in reference to the actual practice of brewing your own HRT. This guide in particular is linked to Otokonoko Pharmaceuticals, which is also listed on the directory. Otokonoko Pharmaceuticals is extremely controversial, for reasons that will become very self-apparent. The packaging is covered in sexualized depictions of young boys cross-dressing.
Haram. Oh, God. I think in hindsight, guys, you guys, I think that we could see that people like publicizing the existence, like feel how you want to feel about do-it-yourself hormones and all that other shit. People like Keffals and people that like publicly like are like, oh, go here, oh, do this, oh, do that. Like they're explicitly the reason why these resources are being like taken away. Like in the United Kingdom, I think it is now, all this shit is like IP banned. So you can't order like DIY HRT hormones or whatever the fuck in the United Kingdom anymore. And again, feel however you want about it. Like, no, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it personally. I don't live in Britboggerland. But like people that consistently called attention to the existence of like do-it-yourself hormone directories and blah, 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 and popularizing it and making it like, you know, mainstream knowledge essentially, I would say are wholeheartedly responsible for the reason that these resources don't exist anymore. I don't know what to say.
I have to blur this out because it is actually a violation of YouTube's TOS, with text on the box that reads, keep out of reach of parents. It's disgusting and clearly falls under the category of Shota or Loli, which Keffals has given her own opinion of in the past. It's already questionable to endorse what are effectively unregulated drugs. It's even worse to explicitly advocate for their use by minors. Keffals bragged about donating thousands of dollars a year to the site to help people get access to HRT before the age of 18. She said, I do not give a single shit what you think. I am doing nothing wrong, nor will I ever back down. The directory was even added as a link to her website, with an accompanying chat command. By then, she was marketing her community as a safe space for teenagers. As a former trans kid who is now a trans adult, I want to say, to all the young trans people who follow me, I love you, I care about you, and I will fight for you. We will win. There is hope for people like us in this world. They cannot and will not keep us down. I have no opposition to providing safe access to HRT for trans people who need them. Right? That's just a thing. If doctors can come in and there's a way to safely do it 100%, get the proper people involved, not me, not Keffals the activist, both of us are clearly not doctors, sure. But it is dangerous to condone questionable individuals with shady histories like Keffals and deceitful messaging to illicitly offer these treatments online, especially to minors. The directory was created by an individual known as Bob Posting, or Chloe. Chloe and Clara have a long history of friendship together. Chloe thanked Keffals for her sponsorship and even got brought on stream to promote the site. She would reply to Clara on Twitter, 1,000 minors on HRT. Her association sparked backlash after people began to notice her bizarre fixation on secretly sending HRT to minors. I've unironically helped like a half a dozen minors acquire bathtub estrogen. No one tell them I've held more than one minor order. I don't groom children. I just show dozens of kids every week how to buy bathtub estrogen with cryptocurrency and how to hide it from their parents. What are you talking about? The directory does, in fact, take cryptocurrency, and at one point even instructed minors on how to buy Bitcoin. If you're a minor, get a trusted adult to purchase Bitcoin for you, or go to your local BTC ATM. Chloe has also referenced minors in relation to an act known as pink pilling, the act of convincing someone that they are trans on multiple occasions. Pink pilling minors is based.
The pink pilling shit is like so fucking cringe, you guys. It gives me that same like kind of visceral ugh. Like when Poppy is endlessly like, oh my god, I can't wait to get your tits like so big from surgery and this, that, and the other thing. It just gives me like, I don't know. It's like, let people come to their own conclusions about their identities and shit like that. I just think it's really weird and off-putting where it's like, yeah, I convinced like 14 people that they were actually fucking trans. And then it's like extra weird when you add on top of it that it's like minors. That's very weird. Like, just let people figure themselves out, you guys. Like, stop holding a gun to people's heads and being like, you're trans. Like, just let them be. Just let them be, guys. It's very strange to me. Very strange to me.
Actually, if they reach out and express a desire for HRT. I have unironically pink-pilled like half a dozen minors, and by pink-pill, I mean point them to HRT resources after they reach out. So when this was brought to the public's attention, several changes to the site were made. They removed Otokonoko Pharmaceuticals and implemented a site-wide age warning. This seems to contradict their explicit advocacy for minors to use the site. 2 days later, Chloe announced she would no longer be involved in the directory. Keffals similarly distanced herself and her sponsorship vanished. She has tried to downplay her accusation ever since, and this is what she had to say earlier this year when questioned about the directory. I gave a wiki site $500 a month and they put my website link in the banner. This was the extent of my involvement. I have never produced or distributed or even purchased DIY hormones. I didn't sell anything to trans minors and I wasn't involved in production or distribution. Claire didn't just endorse it. She was friends with the creator who openly gloated about pink pilling minors. She even joked about it with Clara on stream.
I wanted you on the stream because I have a lot of trans youth who watch the stream, so you gotta like chill your pink pilling stuff.
Wow, I have the perfect resource for you. So I am pretty well known for those who don't know. People know me for like being knowledgeable about DIY HRT and how to access DIY HRT. And so I have a site which people are already sending a link in chat is diyhrt.github.io. If the mods want to plug that would be amazing.
So while Chloe has since disappeared from the internet, there was actually a new development. It was discovered that shortly after retiring, she was convicted for robbing a bank in 2020. On February 14, 2020,
I remember reading about this.
An individual wearing his red walked up to the counter at the Scotiabank branch located at and handed a note to a teller. It read, "This is a robbery. You are not in danger. Call the police 30 seconds after I leave the door. Give me all your money. No bug money." The robber handed the teller a box. The teller placed cash in the box, and the robber then left the bank with the box of cash. The teller locked the door and told her manager what happened. The police were called. This individual was identified by police as Chloe. The teller placed a GPS tracker device hidden between four $20 bills. And when she discovered
Casual bank
to hide it
robbing.
beneath some snow.
Casual
It was
bank
quickly
robbing,
found
guys.
before police,
Casual.
And they
Casual.
retrieved $5,190 in cash. And Chloe was convicted in 2023. Though currently her sentence is unclear, the criminal...
I feel like if you were going to commit a crime, though, like, I think that you're right, Noval, that bank robbing is actually probably, like, the coolest one. Like, out of all of them. Like, I don't know, it's very, like, old-timey Western, you know, you, like, walk in with the bandana on and you're like, give me all your fucking money. Like, I don't know, it seems... I mean, good choice, I would say. Out of all the crimes we could have committed, this was... You know, probably one of the more, like, cool-looking crimes, I would say. Good choice. Good choice.
Notebook, a free resource on Canadian criminal law, says the average sentence in Alberta for this exact type of crime is 4 years and possibly a fine. And while it's unclear who owns the directory now, it's still around to this day. In fact, they recently added back Otokonoko Pharmaceuticals. In fact, they... Also,
fun fact, you guys, I don't know if Mutahar mentions this in his video. Oko Kanoto is Japanese for little boy. Just so you guys know. In case you were like, oh, this can't get any weirder. Yeah, the name of the pharmacy actually means little boy in Japanese, which is... a choice. I just... Listen, optics, I know. Very soy. I totally understand. But if you're going to promote, like, do-it-yourself hormones, and especially to minors, which I disavow entirely, like, you as an adult should never be in a situation where you're providing medication of any kind to a child, never mind, like, unlicensed, like, meth lab level medications to a child. Like, that is never appropriate in any kind of situation. Like, that's fucking weird to me. However, if this is, this valuable resource and it's only adults and they're using it appropriately and they're not using it to quote unquote pink pill minors or whatever weird shit they're doing, maybe don't have like lolicon on the box and then like make it like super horny. You know what I mean? Like the box is like, don't look at my giant girl dick and it's got like a lolicon. It's like maybe don't make it like hella horny. You know what I mean? Maybe go for like some neutral packaging. Maybe. Just like, just from an outsider perspective, looking in, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. And I think that it probably does the opposite of what you want it to do. Because it does look very sussy-wussy. It does look very sussy-wussy. Very true. It's Vosh HRT. Very true.
He even added back that filthy Otokonoko Pharmaceuticals, clearly waiting for that public backlash to die down. Needless to say, everyone involved in this entire situation has exhibited suspicious behavior at best. So, one surprising development that actually kicked in while I'm sitting in my hotel room right now is apparently one of the actual pharmaceutical groups that was listed on the...
Why does this keep getting, like, quieter and quieter? I feel like every section here.
DIY HRT directory, vanapharma.com, which, by the way, ships domestically only within the United Kingdom, accepts cryptocurrency only, blah, 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 has actually been hit with a pretty bad letter in this regard. So for this is from the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency in the United Kingdom, and if we look closely over here, you can see that we investigate the criminal supply of illegal medicinal products, and during one of our investigations, the following domain name has come to our attention, vanapharma.org. Internationally, every jurisdiction has its own law, blah, 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 blah. So what they actually were hit with over here, the violations, is Regulation 46, where a person may not sell or supply, or offer to sell or supply a medicinal product otherwise than in accordance with the terms, okay? And of course, Regulation 214, which is a person may not sell or supply a prescription-only medicine except in accordance with a prescription given by an appropriate practitioner. And of course, Regulation 279, which is a person may not publish an advertisement for a medicinal product unless one of the following is in force of the product. So yeah, they got hit with something, and again, before anybody in their camp says whatever they were doing with the DIY HRT directory was legal, this is a clear example of how what they were doing was actually not, and it required governmental intervention, and this is a clear example of government regulation kicking in and proving that what they were doing wasn't exactly above board. And it's understandable why many would be dubious of their intentions.
They also say, I guess one of their problems is that you are supporting young people, young trans people who didn't have access to.
Mutahar has 3.7 million subscribers, and we can't balance our audio. Really, guys?
Hormones. You are telling them how to make homemade hormones.
Oh my god. No, I don't know how to make hormones. I noticed the new thing is they're saying that I'm teaching people how to make hormones in their bathtub, which just sounds insane.
Keffals calls anyone who questions her behavior, past or present, transphobic, accusing her critics of pedo-jacketing and groomer libel. When Ethan Klein called her out for defending Bosch's horse folder, she poisoned the well. You had me on your show and called me a hero for fighting against a far-right stalking forum that made multiple people themselves. Now you are using out-of-context clips sourced from the same website to attack people. What's truly disgusting about this is something like pedo-jacketing actually can be a real problem. It would be dishonest.
Also, be mindful that Keffals walked back her defense of Vosh. After Vosh, like, didn't publicly come out and sweep for her, she was like, no, it was fucked up what he did. That was super gross. He should be more mindful about where he keeps his porn. Like, she got really quickly turned around in that whole controversy or whatever. And again, like, she was like, oh my god, you're pedo-jacketing me because I'm defending Josh for having drawn child porn. It's like, well, Queen, maybe don't defend the guy who has drawn child porn on his fucking computer and people wouldn't call you a pedo. Like, what? Oh my god, dude.
Honest to act like baseless accusations of pedophilia against the LGBT community don't actually exist. But once again, Clara uses all of this to avoid accountability for her own actions. Clara, Keffals, your identity is not a shield from criticism, okay? Every time you do this, you actually throw the entire community you're supposed to be advocating for under the fucking bus. And that takes us to the tale of Catboy Ranch.
Yes, let's
For
go!
the longest time, Keffals used to block anyone who referenced Catboy Ranch. It was actually mentioned in the letter that caused her initial swatting. But journalists declined to include it. Clara later used this to justify why no one should look into it. When I was swatted, the swatters mentioned Catboy Ranch and giving children Catboy collars in an email where they impersonated me and said that they were going to shoot up City Hall. It was all Kiwi Farms misinformation. Now H3H3 fans are regurgitating it. The problem with this argument is that ultimately the documentation speaks for itself. Nothing on Kiwi Farms should actually be taken at face value, which is why they find it so important to archive everything. That ensures that the original source exists and allows you to verify the information for yourself. With how much misinformation and perhaps disinformation has been spreading about what Catboy Ranch really is, it's about time we look at the facts and try to understand what it actually was. When I first mentioned the subject on Twitter, she posted a
This is like the only part of the video that I care about. This is like the good stuff. Unfortunately, the video is almost over, you guys. But this is like the good shit. We spent like an hour of this relitigating past drama, which I understand is important for like building a narrative, and then people that are just coming into the Keffals drama or whatever, you know, they need a refresher, so to speak. But it's like, damn, this is actually the shit that people care about, is like the DIY HRT and the Catboy Ranch shit, because that's the stuff that is really fucking weird, in my opinion. But so let's go.
To the supposed Discord in question. By the way, the server is still up. Is not the original Catboy Ranch server. In fact, it was created in response long after in June of 2023. The story of the actual Catboy Ranch server starts with a Twitter account.
Is that the one that Poppy called the F slur? Oh my god. Oh, crossover, you guys. Insane crossover. This is the user that Poppy called the F slur. Oh, wow. Wow.
Response long after in June of 2023. The story of the actual Catboy Ranch server starts with a Twitter account she owned by the same name. It was created in 2020. The plan? To create a Twitter meme page directed at femboys so I can herd them all into my ranch. It was somewhat gimmicky with close ties to Vosh's community. Most of the posts were submissions made by either Clara, her friends, or people in her DMs. And the page was overtly sexual, and she did public calls for submissions and invitations. Like this tweet if you want to be added to the Catboy Ranch group chat. It was by any metric an adult space, with pornographic art posted on the account and used as the Discord banner. There are endless, and I mean endless, tweets that are very explicit in nature. For example, my biggest regret about getting bottom surgery is that I never had the chance to in a Catboy. I'm coming out as someone who likes to get
literally, you guys, please stop posting horny shit on twitter.com. Please, please, I'm begging you.
Prostate slammed, and we're slamming someone else's prostate. I really wish I was for Catboy until he starts crying right about now. The account reached 8,000 followers by early 2020.
My eyeballs, take them.
Her page got marked as being adults only. A recurring theme throughout her post was the idea of ownership, which is when things get really strange as we approach the Discord server. The Catboy Ranch Discord was created in December of 2020. Within 3 weeks, the server amassed over 650 members, partially because she promoted it under her viral tweets. While it doesn't appear any archives of the chat exist, what is public has raised a lot of eyebrows. At one point, Clara shared photos of 2 callers given to members of the Discord, clearly engaging in...
You guys, honest question. If I did like another tier for memberships, but I would like make you guys callers, would you subscribe? Oh my god, like, please, you guys, I can't fucking handle this anymore. All paths that involve gooning lead right to hell, okay? As we can see here, like, no good will ever come from gooning on main, guys. When will we learn that our actions have consequences? Please, stop horny posting on main. Please, I'll do anything, you guys. Please.
In some form of roleplay. These individuals are adults, and I'm not alleging otherwise. My point is that it's clearly a space for adults, and minors should have been kept away as far as possible. Keffals has reiterated that the server has explicitly 18 plus and required photo ID to join. However, she also stated that photo ID was only required for the not safe for work sections. These are two very contradicting statements. And ignoring the fact that she shouldn't have been interacting with minors on Twitter either, Win, also known as @FemGirlVR, was followed by Clara on both of her accounts. On September 28, 2021, Clara replied to Win calling her very cute. A month later, Win tweeted at Clara complaining she couldn't post nudes because she was 15. Then in November, Catboy Ranch replied to Win, acknowledging her age. You are 15, your skull hasn't even fully developed. Win later proclaimed herself a proud member of the cult of Keffals. I just can't get over how much hope you give me. I should be able to start HRT before I'm 16 or once I'm 16. So just knowing that there's the potential I could pass like you does give me hope to keep going. Thank you. Maya, or Femboy Mats, is another minor Clara interacted with on Twitter. Maya claimed to have been a member of the Catboy Ranch Discord whilst underage. Maya said, hey, I'm the person involved, there was no grooming. Someone replied, who said there was? You were still a minor in Catboy Ranch, which had ID verification. Maya then confirms that only the NSFW sections did. Maya was 16 years old when she began interacting with Keffals. 5 days after she turned 17, Clara replied to her selfie with a meme. Damn ya ass fat, what's your pronouns? Clara later tweeted a meme at Maya about taking estrogen and getting erections. In one thread, Catboy Ranch interacts with both Maya and Princess Emily.
Wait, I haven't seen that screenshot, have I? I'm drunk and not following have a meme, taking estrogen, getting erection. Bro! You guys, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this. I feel like I really shouldn't have to say this, but it's like, you know when you go to the zoo and they have signs where it's like, please don't get in the tank with the alligators, and you're like, LOL, that's so dumb. But the reason that sign is there is because someone did, in fact, get in the tank with the alligators. You know what I mean? It's like, I really feel like I shouldn't have to say this, you guys, but like, don't post horny shit to minors on twitter.com. Like, is that really an insane request of me? Is the bar really that high? Where it's like, guys, don't like send sexy shit to minors on twitter.com. Like, are you kidding me? Somebody has to say that. Somebody has to say that. Just like somebody said, please don't get in the tank with the alligators at the zoo. You're like, what dumb fuck got in the tank with the alligators? What dumb fuck thinks it's appropriate to send a 16-year-old fucking memes about getting boners? You guys, look at our trans activist dogs. We're never getting rights. Look at our trans activists. We're definitely going to the gulag. Oh, fuck.
And getting erections. In one thread, Catboy Ranch interacts with both Maya and Princess Emily, who was 15 years old. Now, these are highly inappropriate interactions for someone to engage in on their adults-only account at the age of 27. And this is only what we're able to see publicly. It's also worth noting Maya has since argued in favor of underage people lying about their age to people online. Maya turned 18th in January of...
Dog. No. Listen, I lied about my age when I was 15 on the internet because I wanted to sext with people. That's a pretty high chance that a lot of people are doing it. The same thing. This person looks and acts like they're 15 years old. And then Maya says, if you didn't do this as a kid, you're sheltered. Here we go, guys. Here is authoritarian Malcolm coming out. If you sex on twitter.com, you should be committed to an institution for the rest of your life. I know that's a hot take, you guys. I know that's a really hot take, but we have to stop. We have to stop the Gooners. We have to.
Of 2022, and made an NSFW account to post nudes 3 months later. Now this is where the story gets even darker, because we have to look at Maya's interaction with another user named Danny. Username is Synth is here. Danny publicly bragged about...
Okay, Danny is a fucking idiot. Before we continue, I hate this bitch. Okay, sorry. About to start bragging that I got Femboy Mass on HRT when she was a minor so that I can get called a pedo by a massive online content creator. And then Maya says, you grew me so hard. And then Danny says something gross. Okay.
Maya on DIY HRT when she was a minor. About to start bragging that I got Maya on HRT when she was a minor, Maya began ordering from Otokonoko Pharmaceuticals a month after turning 17. I'm about to take the pink pill, still Sista. This all was with assistance from the DIY HRT directory. A year later, she was so unhappy with her results, she actually called out and blocked Chloe on Twitter.
Okay, this is new drama. I was not aware of this.
What happened? She got pissed about her hormone results? I mean, that wouldn't be Chloe's fault because that's not something she can control. Everyone reacts differently to that stuff. Also, there's different dosages. The two would end up having an argument about the specifics of HRT. Chloe calls Maya an idiot, and Maya says this: fuck DIY, fuck all of this. I don't know how this happened. My regimen didn't change since my last fest. I'm so done with listening to these quacks online who pretend they're better than actual doctors. As Maya herself stated, these people are not doctors. And someone like Chloe should not be allowed to posture herself as some kind of authority on the subject.
Okay, so here is the biggest issue with DIY HRT, okay? And everybody get your pitchforks ready because, wow, you have a lot of issues, okay? When you're medically transitioning, if you start taking hormones, it is really important for you to get your levels checked. So when you're doing online DIY HRT, you're eyeballing it. That's what you're doing. You're guesstimating based on other people's dosages. You're using like a rough guide that will say like, you know, this is your body weight or whatever. This is about how much you should be taking. But if we know anything, you guys, if we know anything to be true, it's that everybody reacts to stuff differently. Like, everybody. So you can have two cis men. One of them is 6'4", 300 pounds. One of them is 5'5", and 120 pounds. And both of them might have a testosterone level of about 500. For one of them, that could be an insanely high level, to the point where it's damaging their organs. Or it could be incredibly low, to the point where they need to go on testosterone replacement therapy and supplement the testosterone that they're not getting. Okay, so hormones specifically are very dependent on the individual, how your body metabolizes them, and a whole bunch of other factors. Okay, so when you're doing DIY HRT, you're eyeballing it. You are guesstimating about how much you need to take. And I'm assuming, and I would be willing to bet cold hard cash that I'm correct on this take, if you're doing DIY HRT, you probably are not getting your levels checked, because that tells me that you're either somewhere, one, where it's illegal for you to medically transition, or two, you're so poor that you have to buy it like gray market online, right? Or, you know, you don't have the resources to get HRT through like an official channel, so you probably aren't getting your levels tested. I think that's a fair assumption, okay? If you're not getting your levels tested, there is a good chance that you're not dosing yourself correctly. And if you're not dosing yourself correctly, you're, one, probably not seeing results, and two, you could seriously be damaging yourself and your organs and your body, okay? So this whole thing where it's like, I was not getting the results that I wanted. First of all, no shit, Sherlock. Like, you should be getting your levels tested. But let's, again, zoom out just a little bit onto the macro here. The people that are accessing this, that we're kind of primarily focusing on for pink pilling, are minors. They don't know any better, you guys. They don't know any better. They truly believe that if they just buy this shit from this weird fucking pedophile Japanese website and inject themselves with it, they'll pass and have big boba and nothing will go wrong, and they'll be completely fine and sexy and living their life as a woman for as long as they want. Like, and that's not the reality of taking hormones. It's so frustrating to like sit here and have to just be on the sideline and listen to this, where it's like, this is a product of your guys' design. People are unhappy with the results they're getting from DIY HRT because they're not dosing themselves correctly. And for all we know, people could have fucking killed themselves doing this shit by taking way too much or by injecting themselves with like dirty shit. Like the DIY HRT directory, I think it was Oko Kanoto, there was like fucking cat hair in the vials. There was cat hair in the fucking vials, dude. If you inject yourself with something that's contaminated like that, you run a really high risk of infection. You can get sick. You can die. Like, oh my God, it's just such a bad idea. It's such a bad idea. It's such a bad idea. And I cannot believe, like, I'm already like very hesitant in like recommending this resource to adults. Okay, because you can fuck up your body really bad. You can fuck up, you know, your ability to take hormones in the future. If you shred your liver, they're probably not going to put you on hormones later in a regulated fashion because it's not safe. But when you include this with minors, dude, with people under the age of 18 that don't know any better, that aren't being tested regularly, they don't even know like what they're getting in the mail. They could be literally getting like liquid meth for all we know, and they're just like fucking shooting up with it's, oh my God, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And not only is it like a literal nightmare where people could be hurting themselves, really actually hurting themselves, but also optically, again, optics, soy. Optically, you, an adult, are facilitating minors getting access to unregulated medications over the internet with cryptocurrency to hide from their parents. What are you doing? What are you doing, bro? And they're not even being supervised. They could be just like murdering themselves with this. Like, chronically overdosing on hormones is very dangerous, especially for testosterone. Estrogen is also dangerous, but not quite as dangerous as testosterone. Like, you can fucking kill yourself taking too much testosterone. You can give yourself a stroke, and you can fucking die. And again, let's zoom out a little bit on the macro. Imagine, like, if 15-year-old Malcolm had access to hormones, would I dose myself correctly? Fuck no, dude. I'd be injecting myself like fucking 6 times a day. I'd be like, I'm ready to get my beard. Let's overdose and get a beard in the next 24 hours. Like, when your brain isn't fully developed, you lack that foresight. You're not thinking, well, I could be hurting myself, or maybe I should take it easy because I don't want to overdo it, or I have to be mindful to not take too much. You're like, fuck it, I want to transition right now. I'm going to take as much as humanly fucking possible. And it's like, how do you guys not see the issue in what you've created? What is going on, you guys? What is going on, you guys? Oh, fuck.
No one without any proper credentials should. Not me, not Chloe, not Keffals, not anyone. Maybe it would be less of an issue if everyone involved in the situation was a legal adult. But as we've demonstrated in the last 5 minutes, they are not. Clara explicitly advocated for the DIY HRT's directory's use by minors, while clearly aware of her friend's activities, behaviors, and history. That only compounded by her constant lies surrounding Catboy Ranch, when even what we can prove already paints an incredibly unsavory picture. There is simply no good justification for why Keffals, while being overtly sexual, was interacting with and befriending underaged fans.
And the only place they really feel safe talking about being trans is on the internet.
And so where do you guys do this? Is it like a Discord or something, or like a community?
Oh, it was like a Twitch stream.
Oh, just on Twitch?
Yeah.
So it's all just out in the public?
Yeah.
Because they make it sound like you have some kind of secret or some community spot that's not publicly seen where you're talking with kids and stuff, but that's not even the case.
No.
Wow, that's interesting. They really are just straight up lying, huh?
Now, there's a lot of misinformation surrounding Catboy Ranch, including the circulation of several alleged screenshots. And to be clear, these aren't from a server Clara owned, but an acquaintance named Femboy Cooking. Femboy Cooking is infamous for saying this: "It's not a choice. We are not asking you. We are telling you we will turn your kid gay." On June 23rd, 2021...
You guys, even if that's a joke, please, you guys, you have to know your audience. No.
A thread was made exposing Femboy Cooking's Discord server. A user named Sorrel called it an outright den of grooming. The server had roles to identify both adults and minors. And in spite of this, he caught an adult openly flirting with a 13-year-old and calling them a cute little bottom catboy.
I remember, oh my god, I remember this fucking screenshot, dude. Oh my god, no! You guys, again, we have to put up a sign, apparently. Stop, like, saying weird shit to children. What the fuck, bro? No!
Admins defended the server's practice of allowing underage users. Why would we bar minors from the server on the off chance that they'll be groomed? How if they've been taking...
Why the fuck would you ever say that? On the off chance that they could be sexually exploited and molested by strangers on the internet, why would we ever prevent against that? What, bro? Holy shit.
How, if they have been talking about having with men, you can show me where, but your sexuality is a part of you. There's nothing wrong with it. You're kind of the one introducing the adult-oriented element. It's kind of weird. Keffals admits that she was in the server and called the screenshots disgusting. I have absolutely nothing to do with that Discord, and I think that is disgusting. I'll warn people about the Discord. Someone replied, "By that you mean you'll leave the Discord." And she said, "Already did. I wasn't aware or active about any of this until now." Bruh, I was joking. I didn't know you were a part of it. That changed after the person who made the call out got suspended.
Oh my
Clara
god,
celebrated the thread's deletion, even though she admitted it had evidence of an adult flirting with a minor. Those are her own words. A just wrote an entire thread seething about me from behind a block and tried to get his followers to dogpile my tweet, and then got suspended. People combed through Femboy's Cooking Discord and discovered an adult flirting with a minor, and decided that I am somehow guilty of this. Once again, suspended. This is stunning admission that she helped cover up an adult flirting with a 13-year-old for her own convenience. And there's also no proof that the person who made that thread is a P-word. Early into Drop Kiwi Farms, Clara promoted an artist named ZR Kalo. Kalo is known for running the account Transphobes posting their L's. She faced backlash for knowingly associating with actual zoophiles, including a moderator on @Transphobic L's. She also
Trans people be normal, challenge impossible. Trans people, please, bro, please, please, guys. I'll do anything, you guys, please stop, please.
She was known for drawing what would some describe as necrozoophile art. Keffals defended her purely on the basis.
Are any of those words in the Bible necrozoophile art? Does that mean that they're dead? Does that mean like dead animals? Necro means dead, right? I'm not... Honestly, electric chair. Honestly, electric chair. Oh my god, I hate everybody. I hate everybody, you guys.
That she had a thread on Kiwi Farms.
But the thing is, like, I know they lie about literally everyone, so why would I believe their claims? Like, they're calling Zerkalo a necrozoophile, and it's like, they call everyone everything. Nothing they say is truthful. I have no reason to believe that.
The Keffals pause.
You furry gore? Look, I personally think that that's kind of weird. However, I don't think you did anything wrong.
You guys, stop being afraid. Stop being afraid to kink shame. Yes, if you draw furry gore porn. Yes, yes, feel free to shit all over that, you guys, please.
I can just choose not to look at the part of the internet where people post things like that.
I'm so distressed right now.
As long as no one's getting hurt, I do not care.
Then she calls out every person with the thread on the site to band together. It's probably a good time to bring up that Kiwi Farms has actually put criminals in jail. Put actual criminals there. Most recently putting a prolific animal abuser behind bars. I'm not saying every user or thread is virtuous. Even if you hate the site, you gotta admit, some people deserve to have their actions exposed. Keffals' campaign eventually took her to Chris Chan, who she brought on for an interview right after Chris got out of jail for allegedly having...
Okay, the Chris Chan interview, I saw clips of that, you guys. My personal opinion is, like, just leave Christian alone. like obviously that person is deeply unwell. Like, she made the critical error of touching the poo. Okay, she made the critical error. Just like live and let live. Okay, and she was trying to do like the commentary, like drama thing, and like laugh at Christian like being mentally unwell and shit like that. Like the few clips that I saw, she was literally just sitting there like with a shit-eating grin on her face, like waiting for Christian to say something like stupid. And of course, Christian said something stupid. Like, yes, of course, water is wet. We know this to be true, but. Like, for somebody who's, like, supposed to be this uwu, soft, empathetic being, why are you picking on this person that is very obviously fucking unwell in every meaningful way? What? Just leave. Just, like, why? I don't understand, you guys. I'm having a stroke.
Relations with their mom. Hilariously, she had to keep up the lie that Kiwi Farms was still down. A lie she maintained for years. At this point, I need to pose the question, what goddamn moral high ground does Keffals have over Kiwi Farms? It isn't doxing. She paid money to dox her critics, as well as innocent members of their family. It can't be cyberstalking. She got ousted from her own community for trying to gather dirt on who she called a prototypical lolcow. It can't be some belief of criminality. The whole point of getting Cloudflare to drop Kiwi Farms is making them susceptible to illegal DDoS attacks. And when the site was hosted in Ukraine, she posted the address to the servers publicly, and then accused them of—
Oh, this part was mega fucked up, dude. This was probably one of the, arguably, like, we've seen a lot of shit, obviously, right? I would say that this is probably one of the more tasteless things out of everything, is like, you're gonna use an international conflict, like a literal fucking war, for your little, I need to make this about me fetish. Like, you guys, it's a war right now that's happening. Like, people are getting blown up and shit, and you're like, God, it would be a shame if the Ukrainian headquarters got outed for hosting this. It's like, bro, like, they have their own shit going on. Like, they're a little busy right now. Maybe you can leave them alone.
Of supporting Russia in some weird hopes that I would imagine would be retribution. Her entire MO is exploiting other people for her own benefit. Every time she claims people are criticizing her because she's trans, she undermines the actual hate directed towards trans people on the basis of their identity.
So
what about her cynical use of other people's death, from James Somerton to the victims of Kiwi Farms to bringing up Tony in the inner feud with Ethan Klein?
That was also hella fucked up, dude. Bringing up that Tony Winchester dude who like got pedo jacketed and then just like lived a sad old man life for like the rest of eternity. That was fucked up too. Oh my God, I totally forgot about how fucked up a lot of this stuff is.
She starts this motherfucker with "in memory of Tony Winchester," who was the RS Glory and Gold.
Why bring him up? What the hell?
He, first of all, I'm speechless with that one.
Yeah.
How many deaths do we have to watch her weaponize until we all get together and can agree invoking someone's name in this way is just really fucking disgusting? And finally, to top it all off, there is no transparency surrounding the GoFundMe. She seems to keep inventing new details about her swatting, and many of the criticisms thrown in her face over the years are rooted in reality. If there's anything to learn about all of this, is that Claire Sorrenti has no morals. She will completely disregard the truth for her own gain and profit. There is no scenario where you can take her at her word, because she is shameless in her attempts at manipulation. If you are someone who felt sincerely invested in Kiwi Farms being taken down, then she has failed you. The site is stronger than ever, and they've raised over $150,000 for their own litigation fund. They've already seen results in getting a company to retract their libelous claims. Dropping Kiwi Farms proved to be a terrible business decision for Cloudflare, who stated it caused a loss of potential customers and significant adverse feedback. And now everyone knows exactly what she was trying to hide after all this time. Now, this final section of the video, I have to preface with some caveats. When I first announced I was going to be working on this video publicly, several former friends and editors reached out to offer their perspective. They expressed feelings disillusioned by her behavior and provided what appears to be pretty damning screenshots, one that I started this video off in the beginning, as you can imagine, regarding what Claire did with her money. The reason why I waited to introduce this is at the very end is because I want to show that you can make a strong case with what is already publicly available. I have also been very honest about the extent of my knowledge regarding this evidence, okay? I have to be very honest here. Keffals has faked DMs in the past, even doing so on stream before posting them as if they're real. Keffals and her camp have demonstrated being actual disinformation agents, and having to vet screenshots are actually a serious concern. This is why I say I never believe an actual message until I open up the server myself, hit refresh, and see it with my own fucking eyes. I don't just believe any screenshot thrown at me. With all that being said, this is what I was shown. The first is from a screenshot from a private group chat dated November 30th, 2022. Feels really bad watching the GoFundMe deplete. The rest will cover a year's rent and my psych fees if I talk to a psychologist once a week for the next 11 months. Ellen tried to comfort me by reminding me that it was an emergency fund. I kept trying to think of how it depleted so fast, and it's just so many little things. Travel and replacing furniture and helping my friends out, buying new streaming gear and clothes. If legitimate, this is an admission that the GoFundMe had greatly depleted after just 2 months. It also calls into question if she actually did buy new clothes and equipments for her friends. That isn't even remotely covered by any of her stated goals. Claire seems to understand this, going on to state, if anyone ever finds out about how I spent the GoFundMe, I am definitely getting canceled. And these messages were deleted, like, what, 7 minutes later? If you recall, in September of 2022, Clara mentioned hiring both a private investigator and a cybersecurity firm. This conversation, dated November 12, 2023, appears to shed further insight as to why. The source first sent a tweet from YouTuber Bad Empanada, who had criticized Keffals in the past. Clara responded by sharing his full name, date of birth, and home address. When asked how she obtained this information, Clara gloated she was insane before revealing the name of another YouTuber named Second Thought. Does Kiwi Farms have this info? No, I did it myself. I never published this info. It's just like a game for me. Clara continued. I'll have more soon. I paid for another information request from an Argentinian PI firm. Honestly, my dream is to retire from streaming and be a PI. Dox people professionally. The lady who wants to drop Kiwi Farms, ladies and gentlemen, used the money raised under false pretenses to indulge in her fantasy of being a professional doxer. Allegedly. Given the nature of these screenshots, we have to be very careful about their legitimacy. However, I did end up reaching out to both of the YouTubers targeted to verify if the information was legitimate. And unfortunately, I did not get a single response back, as sad as it sounds. I think at the end of all this, the real harm that Keffals has done is not necessarily—
Bro, that's fucking crazy. Why would you spend money on that? You guys donate to me so I can investigate all the people that were mean to me in middle school. Let's go. Like, what? What?
Just to herself, but for the people that she quote-unquote wants to advocate for. Look, throughout covering this video, I've learned that the trans people that I've talked to just want to exist. And in most cases, they're just average people. And their identities are just their identities. That's it. They actually have lives outside of what their, again, trans identity usually is.
So
and
true,
a lot of those people I talked to have all disliked Keffals. And they've all disliked him because, you know, as far as I can really tell you, this person's like the Jesse Jackson of trans people. Okay? They will use this as a shield.
Okay, Budar, let's go.
And I feel that Keffals' behavior has made her the perfect controlled opposition for making trans people just look terribly bad. So at the end of all this, ladies and gentlemen, Keffals is in fact a liar. They are evil, they are malicious, and they're a great harm to not just themselves, but the community they quote-unquote claim to represent. That said, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it, and
Jesus Christ. What the hell, bro? What the hell, bro? Oh my god. Juicy delicious tea, you guys. Juicy delicious tea. Yeah, that's the Keffals lore, guys. That's the Keffals segment. That is the Keffals segment.